Chapter 43:17. Pa, 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 pa. The sound of the whip lashing continuously echoed in the air, accompanied by the screams of pigs being slaughtered. The sounds intertwined endlessly in the big world. "Master, my hand is sore," Shapotian said. Potian held the whip in his small hand and fiercely swung it. Then he turned to look at Zhuowen with a bitter face. Under Zhuowen's command, Shapotian had been lashing the whip for several hours. His arm was stiff and sore as if petrified. Zhuowen was expressionless. He raised his right hand and motioned for Shapotian to stop. His indifferent gaze fell on Ziyu. Ziyu's face was already bruised and swollen. She was now lying on the ground, moaning in pain. "Zhuowen, why did you hit me? I've been well behaved during this time. I didn't provoke you." Ziyu trembled. She looked at Zhuowen in horror. Her voice trembled and her heart was full of confusion. She didn't seem to have done anything. Why was she so unlucky to be hung up and beaten by Zhuowen like this? Why? Zhuowen didn't speak. He only stared coldly at Ziyu. The latter's scalp was numb and her tone was much weaker. "If you have something to say, then say it. I will definitely cooperate with you." Ziyu smiled rather fawningly. "Do you have a special way of contacting Marquis G? I found that no matter where I go, Marquis G can find me." Zhuowen pretended to ask deeply. He knew that if he asked Ziyu directly, she might not tell the truth. So he planned to use this method to ask Ziyu. "You?" Ziyu was shocked. "You was shocked." She cursed Marquis G 100 times in her heart. He did have a more hidden connection with Marquis G. This was so that if Ziyu was separated from Marquis G in a dangerous situation, Marquis G could locate his position in the shortest time and come to rescue him. Originally he was still looking forward to Marquis G secretly tracking his position. As long as he didn't give himself away, then there would be a chance to save him. But he didn't expect Marquis G to be exposed so quickly and cause him to suffer an unexpected calamity. "Speak." Wen shouted coldly. His eyes were ferocious as a terrifying murderous intent burst out from his eyes. Purple Mystery's body trembled. He knew that if he didn't tell the truth, Zhuowen would probably execute him on the spot. There is indeed a special method of communication between Ji-Hu and me. "Zhuowen, I really didn't want to hide this from you, but I didn't think that Marquis G would dare to track you. This has nothing to do with me." Ziyu readily admitted it. She was afraid of being suspected by Zhuowen, so she tried her best to clarify her relationship with Marquis G. "Take it out." Wen was expressionless. He spread his hands at Ziyu and said coldly. Purple Yu trembled and barely managed to sit up. Then, she formed a complicated seal with her right hand and pointed at her glabella. Only a purple lotus mark appeared between Ziyu's eyebrows. This mark was vivid and lifelike, as if a real lotus had bloomed on Ziyu's forehead. The flower imprint slowly separated from Ziyu's eyebrows and floated above Ziyu's palm. "This is the medium for me to contact Marquis G. This imprint can't directly contact Marquis G, but through this imprint, both of us can track each other's location." Ziyu sighed softly. Zhuowen waved his right hand and the lotus mark on Ziyu's palm automatically appeared in his hand. "I hope you're telling the truth. If you're lying, I'll let you die a horrible death." Zhuowen looked coldly at Ziyu. Then, he motioned for Shapotian to take good care of Ziyu and left the great world. How in a vast and deep lake, a stream of invisible water quietly dived into the deepest part of the lake. At the bottom of the lake, there were huge irregular rocks and many dilapidated ancient buildings. Coral reefs as big as hills could be seen everywhere. Wu the water of form leisurely entered a huge coral reef. Numerous strange fishes were swimming back and forth in this coral reef. Suddenly, an extremely active school of strange fish swam back and forth in the coral group as if they were threatened. They all drilled into the depths of the coral group and hid, not daring to come out. While Zhuowen was feeling puzzled, a massive shadow slowly moved over. Soon, it enveloped the entire coral cluster. Zhuowen, who was in the invisible water, could not help but look up. He found that above the corals, there was a huge monster that looked like a spitfish. It was swimming towards them with great agility. Three-spear divine fish. Zhuowen's eyes lit up. Three-spear divine fish was a kind of giant beast that specialized in speed. Although its strength was average, its speed in the water was unparalleled. It was said that its speed was comparable to that of most cosmic Dharma plane experts. Zhuowen controlled the invisible water and quietly approached the three-spear divine fish that was still looking for prey above the coral group. When the invisible water streaked across the three-spear divine fish's forehead, a purple lotus mark fell and imprinted itself between the three-spear divine fish's eyebrows. Roar. The three-spear divine fish seemed to be surprised. It roared and quickly rushed into the distance. Its speed was so fast that it disappeared in the blink of an eye. The surrounding water surged, forming a terrifying waterspout. Under the force of the waterspout, the invisible water quickly moved in the opposite direction of the three-spear divine fish. On the surface of the huge lake, three figures quietly arrived. They were the old lamp elder, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi. According to the news from Ji Hu, this kid escaped to this lake. He is now 3,000 feet below the surface of the lake, quickly moving towards the northwest. There's no time to lose. Let's chase. The old lamp elder put away the communication jade talisman, glanced at Blood Beauty and Yun Chunzi, and quickly dived into the lake. After diving to a depth of 3,000 feet, he quickly chased in the northwest direction. He could get in touch with Ji Hu at any time, so he could easily locate Zhuowen's position. However, what surprised the three of them was that Zhuowen's speed this time was shockingly fast. After these days of tracking, they also understood that when Zhuowen used the invisible water escape technique, his speed was not fast. He was much slower than the three of them. This was also the main reason why the three of them predicted Zhuowen's destination in advance and ambushed him in advance. However, this time, Zhuowen's speed surprised them. His speed was only a little slower than theirs. The three of them were puzzled, but they did not think too much about it. Instead, they increased their speed, hoping to catch up with Zhuowen as soon as possible. They could feel that Zhuowen was about to reach his limit. This time, if they attacked him again, this kid would not have any extra strength to use the invisible water escape technique. At that time, this kid would become a fish on their chopping board, unable to resist at all. Chapter 43:18. We're about to get close to that Zhuowen. I didn't expect that he would dare to enter the deepest part of the lake. I don't know what he's up to. Old man Ming Deng frowned as he muttered to himself. Be careful, this place isn't simple. I can sense extremely powerful auras lurking in the depths of the darkness. Blood Beauty frowned slightly. Her beautiful eyes vigilantly scanned the surroundings as she reminded him in a soft voice. There are many powerful giant beasts hidden in the depths of the lake. Did Zhuowen deliberately lead us here? Or has he already given up on resisting? Yun Chunzi asked with a solemn expression. Be careful, don't alert the enemy. We'll mind our own business with these giant beasts. As long as we don't provoke them, I don't think they'll attack us. Old man Ming Deng reminded as he looked at the giant figures passing by in the darkness. His expression was quite ugly. They quietly approached the depths of the darkness. In the darkness around the three of them, huge black shadows stirred the water and circled around them, like a group of demons dancing in the night. 1. 2 pairs of scarlet eyes slowly opened. Gazes filled with malice landed on the bodies of the bright lamp old man and the other two, causing the three of them to feel uncomfortable all over. If the bright lamp old man and the other two had not concealed their peak Dharma powers, perhaps the owners of these malicious gazes would have already swarmed over and devoured the bright lamp old man and the other two. Hey! That Zhuowen has stopped. He's just 100 meters ahead. Old man Ming Deng seemed to have sensed something. He quickly sped up and arrived 100 meters away. Soon, a huge underwater mountain appeared in front of the three of them. On the mountainside of the mountain, there were numerous caves. They occupied almost 1/3 of the entire mountain. These caves were very large, and each cave entrance was dozens of feet wide. From afar, they looked like the giant maw of a Daotai that wanted to devour everything. It gave people a sense of unease. Zhuowen's position is in the 30th cave on the left. Let's go in and capture him. Old man Ming Deng breathed a sigh of relief after confirming Zhuowen's position. He didn't think too much about why Zhuowen had entered this place. Instead, he rushed into the cave like lightning. He felt that this place gave him an uncomfortable feeling. He just wanted to find Zhuowen as soon as possible and leave this place. Cave. Inside the cave was a deep passage. In this dark and seemingly endless tunnel, the water that flowed through the tunnel was as viscous as blood, giving the three of them the feeling that they were in blood. Roar. Not long after the three of them entered, a roar came from the depths of the cave. Then, a huge black shadow rushed out at an extremely fast speed. Old man Ming Deng and the others finally saw clearly that this black shadow was actually a three-spear divine fish. Whoosh! The spear divine fish was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it brushed past old man Ming Deng and the other two and headed out of the cave. Zhuowen's position is on these three divine fish. This. Old man Ming Deng confirmed with Ji Hu again and was stunned when he found that Ji Hu's position was on these three divine fish. It's very likely that he's attached himself to the three divine fish spears. After all, the formless water formed by his secret technique is seamless. After entering the bodies of the three divine fish spears, he's borrowing the speed of the three divine fish spears to flee, Shuemai said. Yun Chunzi nodded in agreement and said, "Then what are we waiting for? Let's catch up and kill these three divine fish. Blast them to smithereens. I don't believe that Zhuowen won't show himself." After the three of them reached an agreement, terrifying killing intent burst out from their eyes. In the next moment, the three of them no longer concealed their auras. Instead, they summoned their cosmic manifestations and rushed out of the cave to catch up to the three divine fish. The three divine fish, who had been leisurely swimming, didn't even have time to react before they were surrounded by the three cosmic manifestations. Then, under the puzzled gazes of the three cosmic manifestations, the three cosmic manifestations unleashed terrifying attacks. Countless streams of light flashed in the dark lake. Boom, boom, boom. In the dazzling light, the pitiful three divine fish was blasted to smithereens. Before they died, they could only let out a mournful cry. The momentum of the three's attacks was extremely great. Almost the entire lake was affected. Countless water tornadoes surged up from the water's surface and into the clouds. Why hasn't this kid shown himself yet? If he was really hiding inside the three-spear divine fish, he should have shown himself and fled after seeing us chase after him. The old man looked at the remains of the three-spear divine fish in surprise and said with some confusion. Blood Shuemai and Yun Chunzi were also dumbfounded. It seemed that reality was a bit different from what they had expected. Ji Hu sent another message? What? Ziyu's imprint disappeared. She's dead. Old man Ming Deng was dumbstruck after seeing Ji Hu's message. What? Ziyu's imprint disappeared. That means that Ziyu is dead. Then Zhuowen is also dead. We accidentally killed them just now. Shuemai and Yun Chunzi were also dumbfounded. Roar, roar. While the three of them were still in a daze, pairs of scarlet eyes lit up in the caves of the enormous mountain behind them. Terrifying roars rose and fell one after another. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Then, one after another, huge black shadows rushed out from the densely packed caves, crazily charging towards the three old men. It's a school of three divine fish. Damn it, I forgot that the three divine fish are huge beasts that live in groups. They are also very united. As long as one of them is killed, the other three divine fish will crazily avenge their companion. Old man Ming Deng slapped his forehead and cursed with a slightly pale face. Run. Yun Chunzi and Shuemai didn't even think about it and fled towards the back. However, just as they turned around, they immediately discovered that the other huge beasts hidden in the darkness had gathered together and blocked their escape route. Pairs of scarlet eyes stared at them and made their hair stand on end. There were pursuers and ambushes. They had nowhere to go. Damn it, what bad luck. I thought I could catch Zhuowen and make a great contribution, but I didn't expect to get into trouble instead. The two of you, follow me and carve out a bloody path. Ming shouted. Old man Ming Deng's eyes were filled with hostility. He had a belly full of anger due to his failure to catch Zhuowen. He urgently needed to vent it now. And these uninvited exotic beasts were perfect for him to vent his frustrations. Shuemai and Yun Chunzi were helpless. They knew that they had to fight and gave up on the idea of running away. Kill. With a roar, countless huge beasts and the three Dharma manifestations finally collided, erupting into an earth-shattering underwater battle. Lake on a mountain not far away, Marquis G's face was pale. He gripped the jade communication talisman in his hand and gritted his teeth. Young Master Zio's imprint has disappeared. That Zhuowen has killed young Master Zio. Bastard, I must kill him. Shu Ju stood not far away from Marquis G, followed by Elder Ling. Deep in thought, he muttered, Marquis G, Brother Zio might not really be dead. That Zhuowen is not a stupid person. Zio should be of great use to him. He won't kill him so easily. The disappearance of the imprint could also be that Brother Zio handed it over himself and gave it to Zhuowen to erase. Marquis G, who had fallen into despair, seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. He turned to stare at Shu Ju and asked, Really? The possibility is very high. Of course, to prove whether Brother Zio is still alive, we still need to prove it to Zhuowen. Shu Ju's lips curled as he took out the jade communication talisman at his waist. Chapter 43:19. You're sending a message to Zhuowen? Ji asked. Who saw Shu Ju slowly put away the jade talisman after sending the message. His pupils shrank as he asked in a low voice. Yes. Shu Ju smiled faintly. Ji Hu's expression was strange. Shu Ju, Zhuowen has been treated like this by us. Even if Zhuowen is really alive, do you think he will reply to your message? Shu Ju confidently said, He will, because my message to him is very simple. I just want to know if Ziyu is alive or dead. If he doesn't reply, then I will beat him at his own game and send the news of Ziyu's death back to his family. Once the news of Ziyu's death spreads, with the power of her family, do you think they will let it go and not arrest Zhuowen? As long as he replies, then I won't spread the news. This is not a loss for Zhuowen. After all, he took out the tracking mark on Ziyu. With his ability, it will be very difficult for us to find him now. Using accurate news to shut me up is obviously not a losing deal. Zhuowen is a smart person. Ji Hu repeatedly nodded his head when he heard that. His gaze when looking at Shu Ju instead became reverent. Shu Ju had just finished speaking when the jade talisman in his right palm lit up. He opened it and saw that Zhuowen had replied, She's not dead, but you're dead for sure. Shu Ju slowly put away the jade talisman and shook his head. Zhuowen replied to me. Ziyu is indeed not dead. All right, I've completed the purpose of this trip. Ji Hu, let's bid farewell here. Shu Ju didn't wait for Ji Hu's reply. He took out a divine ship and jumped onto the deck with Elder Ling. Then he turned into a stream of light and disappeared. Ji Hu looked at the huge lake in the distance and sent a lot of messages to Ziyu. When he didn't get a specific reply, he could only leave. Gongzi, why are you in such a hurry to leave? That Zhuowen is a huge trouble. We should continue to track that Zhuowen to prevent future troubles. Elder Ling followed behind Shu Ju on the divine ship's deck and asked in confusion. Shu Ju placed his hands behind his back and sighed lightly. Staying here will only be a waste of effort. I made a mistake this time. I underestimated Zhuowen's strength. Not only did I fail to obtain the other map fragment from Zhuowen, but I also offended Zhuowen, a genius with limitless potential. Elder Ling said disapprovingly, Young master, this Zhuowen's talent is indeed peerless. He far surpasses all the geniuses on the Outer Realm's celestial ranking and is close to those geniuses who truly stand at the peak of the Invincible Realm and the ancient Heavenly Tao Academy. But in the end, he was only a loose cultivator. Moreover, he was so arrogant that he refused Lord Lian Rong's invitation. Such a self-righteous fellow, so what if his talent was strong? It was most likely to die prematurely. A dead genius is no threat at all. Shu Ju didn't say anything. Instead, he silently looked at the clouds that constantly drifted by. Although, however, reason told him that Zhuowen was just one person after all. He couldn't cause too much trouble, but there was always an uncontrollable fear in the depths of his heart. Then, this fear made him rather irritated. He kept thinking of Zhuowen's cold and emotionless face. Could it be that I really made the wrong choice? No, I didn't do anything wrong. Xu Ju's eyes became unprecedentedly sharp. He slowly said, Elder Ling, after returning, I plan to enter the secret realm to train. If I don't break through to the peak of the universe tribulation, I won't come out of seclusion. Secret realm? Young master, are you serious? Secret realms are extremely dangerous. If you're not careful, it's very easy to die inside. You can't be impulsive. Elder Ling's pupils constricted as he hurriedly dissuaded him. Xu Ju calmly said, I've made up my mind. After I come out of seclusion, I'll meet the conditions that Lord Lianrong mentioned. At that time, I'll have the qualifications to enter the ancient Heavenly Tao Academy. This is the reward that Lord Lianrong gave me. I don't want to waste this reward. Elder Ling looked at the serious Xu Ju. He knew that Xu Ju had truly made up his mind. Sigh. I still have to return and report this to Lord. As long as Lord agrees, you can enter the secret realm. Elder Ling sighed. He will agree. Xu Ju took a deep breath and turned his head to look deeply at the back of the divine ship. Zhuowen, I won't lose to you. Whether it's strategy or strength, I will win. Boom. Boom. Wide. Above the vast and seemingly endless lake, a series of extremely terrifying explosive sounds resounded. Boom. After the explosions, tens of thousands of terrifying water pillars rose from the calm surface of the lake. These water pillars were scarlet red as if they were dyed red by endless blood. If one looked carefully, they would see that the water pillars were mixed with the remains of many corpses. Water. The pillars shot into the sky and then quickly fell down, landing heavily in the lake. Only the originally clear blue lake had turned into a lake of blood. It was as if the entire lake had been heavily damaged and was constantly flowing with mournful blood. 3 disheveled figures slowly emerged from the depths of the blood-colored lake. They were Old Man Ming Deng, Blood Beauty, and Yun Chunzi. The 3 of them had drooping heads, their bodies were tattered, and their auras were extremely weak. While their cosmic forms were dim and lifeless, looking rather illusory and unreal. The 3 of them had experienced a difficult battle at the bottom of the lake. The aftermath of the battle had set off waves at the bottom of the lake and attracted most of the giant beasts to besiege them. Tens of thousands of giant beasts crazily attacked the 3 of them. That spectacular scene was still unforgettable to them, and they still had lingering fears. There are so many powerful giant beasts hidden in this lake. If the 3 of us hadn't worked together, any one of us would have died here. Yun Chunzi looked at the lake of blood beneath his feet. His limbs trembled uncontrollably when he thought of the fierce battle just now. He had almost died here. Damn it. We don't know where that Zhuowen is, and we've lost all clues to Ziyu. We've really suffered a double loss this time. Old Man Ming Deng's face was gloomy. His fists were tightly clenched, and the veins on his forehead were bulging. Blood Beauty was rather helpless. She looked at Old Man Ming Deng and said, Ming Deng, ask Marquis Ji again. See if he has any other tracking methods. I suspect that Zhuowen isn't dead. He's been misleading us all this time. Old Man Ming Deng sighed. How could I not have thought of this? I've already asked Marquis Ji, but he hasn't replied. He probably doesn't have any other methods. Blood Beauty and Yun Chunzi fell into silence. Wen followed the flow of the water and came to the shore of the lake. He attached himself to a giant beast and used his spirit to influence the giant beast to quickly rush in the direction of the newer realm. This was still the border between the newer realm and the other realms. His injuries were extremely serious. If he hid in a nearby realm, he would easily run into Old Man Ming Deng and the others again. The so-called most dangerous place was actually the safest place. As long as Zhuowen hid in the newer realm again, he believed that Old Man Ming Deng and the others wouldn't think that Zhuowen had the guts to return to the newer realm. After all, he was the target of public criticism in the newer realm. He had offended most of the factions. Once he was recognized, he would be hunted down and killed. Chapter 43:20. The giant beast stopped on the ice plains thousands of miles away from the northern border of the newer domain. No matter how Zhuowen stimulated the giant beast with his divine soul, the latter did not dare to approach. He knew that if he went any further, he would be in the territory of cultivators. If the giant beast got too close, it would be easily attacked by the cultivators. After when left the giant beast, he rushed towards the city at the northern border. When he approached the city, he turned into invisible water again and easily blended into the newer domain. Next, he began to move around and attach himself to all kinds of cultivators, strange beasts, divine ships, and other things. He kept getting closer to the center of the newer domain. Finally, after Zhuowen found a remote village that was hidden enough, the invisible water descended into the well of the village. When the night was dark, he came out of the well and found a cave near the village as his place of seclusion. After setting up a few restrictions in the cave, he summoned Shan Lingyun, Ju Yuan, Shapotian, and Xiao He. After telling them some things, he completely fainted. During this period of time, he'd been fighting and fleeing almost continuously, and it had exhausted his mind and energy a long time ago. Now that he was in a safe place, a strong sense of exhaustion swept over him, causing Zhuowen to fall into a deep sleep. After a long time, Zhuowen slowly woke up and saw Shan Lingyun, Shapotian, Ju Yuan, and Xiao He looking straight at him. "How long have I slept?" Zhuowen patted his head and asked weakly. 3 days and 3 nights. "My disciple, your injuries are still very serious. Don't move around." Shan Lingyun quickly held down Zhuowen, who was trying to get up, and said. Zhuowen realized that his whole body was in unbearable pain. It was as if his whole body would fall apart if he moved. His divine soul was even more seriously injured. Now, he had a splitting headache. Even thinking felt like a luxury. "Fortunately, you summoned us before you fainted. Otherwise, if no one helped to treat your injuries, you might not have been able to wake up so quickly," Shan Lingyun said. As she spoke, she took out a bottle of medicinal paste and carefully applied it on Zhuowen's wounds. A trace of coolness flowed from his wounds to his limbs and bones. "Master, it's time to take the medicine." Open your mouth." Shapotian scurried over with a 7-colored pill in his hand and fed it to Zhuowen. The principle was to set up a healing array at the side and maintain the operation of the array to speed up Zhuowen's recovery. Xiao He was patrolling around the area, guarding against possible dangers. "Zhuowen, what are you saying?" Shan Lingyun rolled her eyes at Zhuowen. After a period of time, of course, of the newer domain of the newer domain. By of the newer of the world of the world of the world of the world. In half a month's time, his external injuries were basically healed. Part of his internal injuries were also healed. The most troublesome part was his divine soul. Good. In the starlight world of the Saint Lord of 7 emotions and 6 desires, he had obtained many divine soul medicines. With the help of these divine soul medicines, the injuries on his divine soul were slowly recovering. Zhuowen also discovered that his injured divine soul had become more tenacious and powerful after being tempered by the primordial technique. A month passed in the blink of an eye. Zhuowen's injuries were mostly healed. He also found out that the area he was in was under the jurisdiction of the Limitless Demon Sect. Moreover, it was not far from the Limitless Demon Sect. The Limitless Demon Sect. Zhuowen muttered to himself. He recalled the condition that Black Lotus had promised him. It was said that the Limitless Demon Sect had an incomplete demon book. This demon book had allowed the Limitless Demon Sect to dominate several realms. Back then, they were much stronger than the newer realm. They were close to the supreme realms. This showed how extraordinary this demon book was. When Zhuowen was escaping, he had forgotten about this condition that Black Lotus had promised him. Now that he had returned to the newer realm by accident and was near the Limitless Demon Sect, it showed that he had some fate with this demon book. "Disciple, you want to go to the Limitless Demon Sect? I'm afraid that's not possible. Everyone in the newer realm knows that you're dead. If you suddenly show up in the Limitless Demon Sect, all the powerful beings in the newer realm will come after you. Moreover, the 3 clan masters of the newer clan will spread the news. At that time, you will not only be facing the forces of the newer realm, but also the experts from the supreme realms who once besieged you. In the cave, Shan Lingyun stared at Zhuowen with her eyes wide open. She could not believe that Zhuowen wanted to go to the limitless demon sect. Wasn't this exposing himself? Which Black Lotus of the limitless demon sect is my loyal servant? Her spirit imprint is still in my hands. I don't need to show up personally. She will naturally give me the demon book, Zhuowen said with a smile. Shan Lingyun's beautiful eyes flickered. You killed Mo Lan of the limitless demon sect, and which Black Lotus is a genius of the limitless demon sect. Even if she is your servant now, she may not sincerely submit to you. She may betray you in the blink of an eye. Don't worry. Without Ziyu's tracking system, even if Old Man Ming Deng and the others really return, they won't be able to catch me at all, Zhuowen said confidently. Although Shan Lingyun was still a little worried, she also knew that it was useless for her to say anything more when Zhuowen had decided. Next, Zhuowen still did not leave the cave. Instead, he used the communication jade talisman to contact which Black Lotus. The limitless demon sect was formed by many huge caves. These caves were shaped like skulls. In the center of the cave of countless skulls, there was a huge black crystal palace. This crystal palace was the headquarters of the limitless demon sect. In the depths of the crystal palace, in a sealed cultivation room, Black Lotus, who was originally sitting cross-legged and cultivating, took out the communication jade talisman from her waist as if she sensed something. Her eyes flashed with a trace of displeasure. Who was so blind to send her a message when she was in seclusion? However, when she saw the person who sent the message, she was dumbfounded. Mars. Master. He is actually not dead. At this moment, Black Lotus's emotions were very complicated. There was strangeness, doubt, surprise, and also a trace of indescribable joy and relief. Only when she saw what Zhuowen had sent her a message to do, a trace of bitterness appeared in the corner of her mouth. The demon book. That is the most precious thing of the limitless demon sect. I'm afraid it will be a little difficult for me to steal that thing. However, I have to do my best to complete Master's orders, Black Lotus muttered to herself. Her beautiful eyes revealed a helpless and determined expression. She quietly left the cultivation room. Chapter 43:21. 3 days later, the sound of a bell echoed in the limitless demon sect for a long time. The originally quiet sect was suddenly thrown into chaos. Powerful figures rushed out from the various devil caves and gathered in the black crystal palace at the center. The demonic bell rang. Could it be that something big has happened? The people gathered in the palace looked at each other. There were elders with powerful cultivations, and there were also outer sect disciples with low status. The ringing of the demonic bell attracted everyone in the sect. There was a rule in the limitless demon sect that when the demonic bell rang, everyone in the sect must gather in the crystal palace. Who? If they didn't come, according to the sect's rules, they would be executed as traitors. Suddenly, the noisy palace became extremely quiet. Everyone looked at the depths of the palace with awe in their eyes. Only a beautiful figure in a black robe slowly walked out from the depths of the palace. It was a mature woman with a graceful figure and a charming expression. Her skin was fairer than snow, and her footsteps were as light as a cat. She was so charming that people couldn't take their eyes off her. Only on both sides of the beautiful woman, there was a boy and a girl. They pulled up the edges of their robes and held them in their hands solemnly. Greetings, Sect Master. The people gathered in the center of the palace slowly knelt on the ground and bowed deeply to the beautiful woman in the long robe. The beautiful woman in the long robe was the current sect master of the limitless demon sect, Mo Mai. She was also the sister of vice sect master Mo Lan, who was killed by Zhuowen. Clang. At first, when the news of Mo Lan's death reached the limitless demon sect, Mo Mai was so angry that she wanted to kill Zhuowen. Only later, when she learned that Zhuowen had died by self-explosion, she couldn't find a target to take revenge on, so she had to hold back her anger. Sect Master, why did you ring the demonic bell and summon us? In the palace, at the front of the group, a bald old man asked respectfully. He couldn't hide the doubt in his eyes. Although the demonic enchantress tried her best to appear calm, anyone could see the fury in her eyes. The demonic book was stolen. Momai gritted her teeth and said hatefully, "What? The demonic book was stolen? How is this possible? The demonic book is stored in the most secret place of our sect. Outsiders don't even know where the demonic book is. How could it be stolen without a sound?" The bald old man couldn't believe it. Palace everyone in the hall burst into an uproar. Demon the Codex was the symbol of the Limitless Demon sect. It also concealed the origin of the Limitless Demon sect. Although no one in the Limitless Demon sect was able to cultivate the demonic book because it was too badly damaged, it wasn't completely useless. The demonic tome was forged from special materials. If a demonic cultivator cultivated near the demonic tome, their cultivation efficiency would be greatly increased, and their comprehension of demonic arts would be halved with twice the effort. In the Limitless Demon sect, the cultivation of many high-level experts and peerless geniuses had risen rapidly with the help of the demonic book. It was a great loss for the Limitless Demon sect if such a precious treasure was stolen. To be able to steal the demon book without alerting anyone, this person can only be someone from our Limitless Demon sect. Momai said with a gloomy expression. "Mole, sect master, are you mistaken? All those who can come into contact with the demonic book are the upper echelons of the sect and recognized geniuses and juniors. These people are all trustworthy people. It is impossible for them to do such a thing," the bald old man said with a frown. "How is it impossible? I already know who it is. Everyone in the sect knows the rules of the demonic bell. Those who haven't arrived yet are the mole. Today, Black Lotus was absent for no reason, and she happened to cultivate in the room where the demonic book was stored yesterday. There's no doubt that the mole is Black Lotus," Momai said with a gloomy expression. The uproar in the hall became even louder. They felt that it was even more unbelievable. Which Black Lotus was the most stunning genius in the sect? She was an outstanding existence among the younger generation. Her future was limitless. But why did she have to steal the demonic book? With her talent and authority, she could freely enter and exit the demonic book. As long as she used the demonic book to cultivate, she could do it at any time. I also feel that it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. Black Lotus is the thief. Elder Ying, mobilize 30 elites and follow me to chase after Black Lotus. In the demonic book, there's a tracking device that I placed. As long as she doesn't find it, I can find her in a short time." Black Lotus waved her hand and said to the bald old man at the front of the team. The bald old man nodded and accepted the order. He quickly selected 30 elites and gathered them in front of the demonic enchantress. "The rest of you stay in the sect. Elder Ying, take them and follow me," Momai said. Momai was expressionless. After she finished speaking, she took Elder Ying and the others and turned into a stream of light, disappearing from the Limitless Demon sect. Distance hundreds of millions of miles away from the Limitless Demon sect, in a remote mountain behind a small village, 3 children were playing. When the adults weren't paying attention, they entered the depths of the mountain. The 3 children quickly lost their way. They walked around in the dense forest behind the mountain for an hour, but did not find a way out. Instead, the more they walked, the more confused they became. They all began to cry loudly, and in the end, they called for their parents. "What's wrong with you?" When the 3 children didn't know what to do, a slender young man slowly walked out from the depths of the forest while holding the hand of a delicate little girl. 3. The 3 children looked at the young man. Soon, they were attracted by the little girl who was holding the young man's hand. They immediately blushed. The little girl holding the young man's hand was too beautiful. Her skin was whiter than snow, and her facial features were as delicate as a porcelain doll. Although the 3 children were very young and didn't know much about love, but they already knew the difference between beauty and ugliness. In the village, they often played with other little girls, but they couldn't be compared to the little girl in front of them. We're lost." A boy in a blue shirt mustered up his courage and wiped the tears on his face as he spoke in a clear voice. After he finished speaking, he stole a glance at the little girl. "What are you looking at?" The little girl, who looked like a porcelain doll, didn't do anything delicate. She immediately put her hands on her waist and asked valiantly, "Scared?" The 3 little boys sat on the ground. "Master." The young man glanced at the little girl. The originally fierce little girl immediately became obedient. "Follow me. I'll send you out of here." The young man held the little girl's hand and slowly walked past the 3 children, walking towards the exit of the back mountain. The 3 children did not have any ulterior motives. Seeing that the young man was willing to bring them out, they followed happily. However, the 3 children would look at the little girl from time to time. Then, like frightened birds, they would immediately turn their heads away and pretend to look elsewhere. Bang! When the young man brought the 3 children out of the back mountain, the villagers who were anxiously looking for the children immediately surrounded them and shouted for the other villagers to gather here. It turned out that after the 3 children had gone missing, their parents had immediately informed the village chief, and the village chief had even encouraged the entire village to search for the children's whereabouts. Chapter 43:22. Hi, Tian, Xian, where did you go? I've been looking for you all this time. A dark-skinned woman hurriedly ran over under the guidance of the others and hugged the 3 children. Woman behind the woman was a well-built man. Seeing that the 3 children were fine, he scratched his head and smiled, saying that it was good that they were fine. "Benefactor, you're the one who saved my 3 children. I, by Shufen, kowtow to thank you." "Thank you, benefactor." The dark-skinned woman touched the heads of the 3 children and noticed the young man in front of her. She hurriedly knelt on the ground and kowtowed to thank him. The simple and honest man, on the other hand, smiled foolishly and kowtowed behind the woman. The young man waved his hand and looked at an old man who was holding a walking stick not far away. The old man was surrounded by the crowd and looked like the backbone of the group. "You must be the village chief?" the young man asked. Elder, with the help of a young village girl, he came to the young man and bowed solemnly. "I'm Ju Hai, the village chief of Longxing village. Thank you for saving the 3 children." Elder Qing bowed. Nyan waved his hand and said, "Have all your villagers arrived?" Old man the village chief was a little stunned. He clearly didn't expect Zhuo Wen to suddenly ask such a strange question. He subconsciously nodded and said, "Other than some who went to the town to buy food, basically everyone is here. Soon, there will be a great battle in your village. Everything within a radius of hundreds of millions of kilometers will be destroyed. If you trust me, go to the back of the mountain and head west. In the deepest part of the west, there is a cave. There's a formation I set up in the cave. Here's the formation flag. Take it. After you enter the formation, immediately place the formation flag at the entrance of the cave. The formation will close by itself. The formation will protect your lives." Zhuowen handed the formation flag to the old village chief and said solemnly. Elder Qing, the village chief, looked at Zhuowen strangely. He did not believe the latter's words. Elder Qing, the village was very remote in the newer realm. Almost all of them were mortals. There were no cultivators. Now moreover, a person had suddenly appeared and said that there was going to be an earth-shattering battle here. No one would believe that. After handing the formation flag to the village chief, the young man didn't say anything else. Instead, he took the little girl with him and shot up into the sky. He really was a cultivator. Is there really going to be a big battle later? The moment Zhuowen rose into the air, the villagers all cried out in surprise. In the 100 outer realms, only true heaven-crushing cultivators had the ability to soar into the air. Mortals below heaven-crushing didn't have the ability to fly or burrow into the ground. After all, the regulations here were much more powerful than the lower realm, and the restrictions were also much more terrifying. Go. Let's listen to this lord and head west to take a look. The old village chief was a person of virtue and prestige. He took a deep look at the young man and the little girl who were hovering in the air. He raised the crutch in his hand and shouted for everyone to enter the back mountain. Since the young man and girl who walked out from the back of the mountain were naturally Zhuowen and Shan Lingyun. They had just received a message from Black Lotus that she had successfully stolen the demonic book. Only yes, it had also alarmed everyone in the limitless demon sect. Now, Black Lotus was being chased by the sect master, Mo Mai, and she was escaping all the way here. Zhuowen knew that a big battle was unavoidable here, so he had asked the people in the nearby villages to enter their original caves to take refuge. "They are here," Shan Lingyun said. Lingyun formed a seal with her hands and slowly opened her eyes. She looked towards the east and said softly. Sure enough, after a while, a figure in a sorry state was quickly rushing over here. "It's Black Lotus." The figure that was getting closer and closer was Black Lotus. Only Black Lotus's condition wasn't very good. Her body was covered in wounds, her face was pale, and there were traces of blood at the corner of her mouth. Behind Black Lotus, there were dozens of figures chasing after her, and they were getting closer and closer to her. Black Lotus. The leader of this team was a beautiful woman in a black robe. Black Lotus naturally noticed Zhuowen, who was waiting in the air in front of her. Her eyes flashed with joy, and she quickly came to Zhuowen's side. "Master, this is the demonic book." When Black Lotus came to Zhuowen's side, she took out a book with an iron cover and handed it to Zhuowen. Zhuowen didn't look at it, but kept it in the great cosmos. He smiled at Black Lotus and said, "Black Lotus, you have done well. From now on, you are free." Zhuowen took out Black Lotus's soul imprint and pressed it into Black Lotus's glabella. Black Lotus felt that the strange feeling in her heart had completely disappeared. She knew that her life was in her hands again. "Thank you, Master," Black Lotus said sincerely. "You deserve it," Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, there was a strong sound of wind breaking in front of them. A few hundred meters in front of them, the demonic enchantress, who had been chasing after Black Lotus, stopped. The demonic enchantress, who was in a black robe, looked at Black Lotus coldly and then at Zhuowen, who was beside Black Lotus. "Who are you?" "Black Lotus stole the demonic book because of you," the demonic enchantress said coldly. Zhuowen could change his appearance and aura, and the demonic enchantress had never seen Zhuowen before. Therefore, she didn't recognize Zhuowen for a while. "The demonic book is what Black Lotus and I agreed on. I heard that the demonic book is so badly damaged that no one in the Boundless Demon sect has been able to cultivate it for so many years. In that case, the demonic book will be wasted in the Boundless Demon sect. Why don't you give it to me? I will make the best use of the demonic book," Zhuowen said calmly. What an arrogant boy. Countless sect masters of the Boundless Demon sect have failed to figure out the true meaning of the demonic book. Do you think you can figure it out? Hurry up and hand over the demonic book, otherwise, die. Before the demonic enchantress said anything, the bald elder beside her took the initiative to attack. Only the bald old man lowered his body and suddenly charged towards Zhuowen. A huge and majestic universe world appeared in the void behind the old man. The old man's universe world was filled with all kinds of lightning tribulations. Each of them was thicker than a bucket and looked exceptionally terrifying. The old man clenched his right hand, and all kinds of lightning tribulations surged out and condensed in his palm, turning into a 3-meter-long giant lightning hammer. Endless lightning hammer. The muscles on the old man's hands swelled to nearly double their original size, and his arms were almost larger than his entire body. He held the lightning hammer that was overflowing with all kinds of brilliance and suddenly descended from the sky. He raised the lightning hammer above his head and smashed it towards Zhuowen. Peak of the great calamity of heaven and earth. How dare such trash provoke me? Zhuowen shook his head. He gently raised his right hand, clenched it into a fist, and then punched out. "You're courting death." Seeing Zhuowen being so arrogant, the bald old man sneered in his heart and increased the strength of his hand. Boom! The dazzling lightning hammer and Zhuowen's fist collided, and then endless lightning poured down, completely drowning Zhuowen. Chapter 43-23. Timpy. You're only at the middle stage of the Great Tribulation of Universe. You're so arrogant that you didn't even use your universe world. Aren't you courting death by taking my all-out attack head-on? The bald old man hovered in mid-air, holding a huge thunder hammer in his right hand. He looked at the torrent formed by the endless thunder tribulation below his feet, his eyes full of contempt. As far as he was concerned, How could Zhuo have any ability to resist this attack? He was dead for sure. You're weaker than ordinary peak cultivators of the Great Tribulation of Universe. Your all-out attack won't hurt me at all. Just as the bald old man was feeling smug, a faint voice sounded from the depths of the torrent of thunder tribulation. The bald old man was dumbfounded. His eyes were wide open as he stared at the depths of the torrent of thunder tribulation. There, he saw a figure bathed in the thunder tribulation slowly walking out. You! Impossible! Endless thunder hammer. The bald old man couldn't believe it. He waved his thunder hammer again, and the terrifying thunder tribulation poured down again. However, this time, the powerful attack was still unable to cause any substantial damage to Zhuo. Zhuo even walked leisurely in the endless thunder tribulation, slowly approaching the bald old man. Endless thunder hammer, endless thunder hammer, endless. Due to his extreme fear, the bald old man's mind was in a mess. He began to madly swing his lightning hammer, and bolts of tribulation lightning rained down on Zhuo's body, wanting to knock him down. Endless, is it enough? Suddenly, Zhuo's voice sounded again, close at hand. The bald old man, who was crazily waving his thunder hammer, realized that Zhuo, who was originally a distance away from him, had unknowingly walked in front of him. If it's enough, then it's my turn. Zhuo spoke again. He didn't give the bald old man any chance to speak. He clenched his right fist and gently punched the bald old man's face. This punch was ordinary, but an extremely terrifying pressure suddenly erupted from Zhuo's body, suppressing the bald old man like a mountain. The bald old man's eyes widened in horror. He wanted to retreat away from Zhuo, but he was rooted to the spot by the terrifying pressure. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as Zhuo's seemingly light fist gently landed between his eyebrows. A surge of power erupted from the fist and surged into the space between his eyebrows, detonating his soul. Poochie. The bald old man spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were wide open as he fell weakly to the ground, no longer breathing. Not far away, Black Lotus, who was recuperating under the care of Shan Lingyun, was not surprised to see Zhuo deal with the bald old man so easily. She had seen with her own eyes the scene of Zhuo killing a cosmic Dharma powerhouse. The bald elder was only at the peak of the cosmic tribulation, so it was reasonable for him to be killed by Zhuo. XDW 8-inch master, you have to be careful. Our sect master, Mo Mai, is stronger than Mo Lan. She is already a cosmic Dharma powerhouse at the middle stage. Black Lotus secretly reminded Zhuo through voice transmission. Zhuo nodded slightly. His gaze fell on Mo Mai, whose face had turned ugly. Who are you? Mo Mai asked coldly. It doesn't matter who I am. I only have one goal, and that is your boundless demon sect's demonic book. Now that I have the demonic book, I don't want to have a conflict with you. If you don't want to die, leave now, and I won't pursue the matter. Zhuo said casually, as if he was narrating a very ordinary and trivial matter. You stole my boundless demon sect's treasure, the demonic book, and killed my boundless demon sect's elder. You want us to leave just because you want us to leave? Aren't you overestimating yourself too much? Do you really think you are as strong as Nigu Xingguang? Mo Mai was so angry that she laughed, but in her heart, she was furious. Zhuo's arrogance and disdain caused her to feel stifled in her heart. Now, she wanted nothing more than to vent it on Zhuo. Although I am not a Nigu Xingguang powerhouse, I am still stronger than you. If you don't want to die, get out. Zhuo's eyes were cold. He felt that Mo Mai was unreasonable. You are courting death. Mo Mai was so angry that she jumped out and rushed toward Zhuo. Now, Mo Mai had lost her mind. The only thing she wanted to do was to kill Zhuo and tear him into pieces. In view of Zhuo's powerful strength, Mo Mai had lost her mind, but she did not dare to be careless. She took out her cosmic Dharma and her life artifact. Mo Mai's cosmic Dharma was a huge woman in a loose black robe. Behind the black-robed giant, there was a pair of bat wings that were hundreds of feet wide. They flashed slowly, setting off a terrifying and violent hurricane. The black-robed giant held a black gold scepter. At the tip of the scepter, there was a black gold gem that was shining. The black-robed giant held the scepter in her right hand and pointed at the void. A huge black gold fireball swept through the air and blasted toward Zhuowen. Each black gold fireball was dozens of feet in size and exuded an extremely high temperature. Wherever the fireball passed, it set off a terrifying wave of heat. In the shape of a ring, it spread in all directions. It was as if even the air was about to evaporate and space was about to be scorched. Zhuowen stood in place. His eyes became slightly dignified. He was no longer arrogant. Instead, he took out his own universe world. The huge 9-layered universe world was suspended above the void behind him. In the universe world, the 9 layers were clearly separated, flashing with 9 different calamity brilliances. Zhuowen's right hand pointed at the void and opened a gap in the first layer of the universe world. Countless terrifying flames surged out, turning into ferocious and lifelike flame dragons. The flame dragons easily blocked the black gold fireballs that the demonic enchantress took out. Zhuowen tapped his right hand again. The second layer of ice element calamity also rushed out, passing through the blocked black gold fireballs and pouncing toward the demonic enchantress. The demonic enchantress's pupils constricted. She took out the scepter in her hand, forming circles of black gold protective shields that enveloped her body, blocking the ice element calamity that was like an avalanche. His universe world. Why does it have 9 layers? The demonic enchantress's eyes were filled with bewilderment. Very quickly, she seemed to have suffered a heavy blow and thought of something. With a 9-layered universe world and such a powerful strength, only one person had this characteristic. That was Zhuowen. However, didn't Zhuowen die? However, there wasn't much time left for the demonic enchantress to think. Zhuowen tapped 3 more times with his right hand, opening up the gaps in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th layers. Blood lightning, black lightning, and a corrosive flood of silver-white and fiery red poured out, surging toward the demonic enchantress. The power of these 3 calamities was much stronger than the previous 2. The moment they appeared, they destroyed most of the defensive circle that the demonic enchantress had put up, leaving only a little bit that was barely holding on. The demonic enchantress was heavily injured. She spat out a mouthful of blood, her face as pale as a sheet. Chapter 43-24. Thousand search demonic shadows. Seeing her defenses being eroded, the demonic enchantress's eyes flashed with ruthlessness as she used her most powerful mystique. Clouds of demonic mist burst out of her huge dharma, and then the demonic enchantress's dharma split into 2, then 4. The demonic enchantress's dharma continued to split into nearly 1,000 dharma manifestations, each of which had an aura no weaker than an early-stage dharma manifestation. The 1,000 avatars used the same attack, and for a moment, they blocked the first 5 layers of Zhuowen's tribulation energy. They even suppressed Zhuowen's tribulation attack. Interesting. I wonder if you can withstand the 6th level's tribulation. Zhuowen's lips curled into a cold smile. He tapped the void with his right hand again, and a gap opened in the 6th level of the 9-level Chenkuan world behind him. When Zhuowen had just broken through to the Chenkuan tribulation, he had been able to open the first 5 levels. Now that he had successfully reached the mid-stage of the Chenkuan tribulation, opening the 6th level was not much of a problem. He was even confident that he could open the 7th level. When Zhuowen opened the gap in the 6th level, a deafening explosion sounded between heaven and earth, incessant and endless. Numerous mountains that were tens of thousands of feet tall appeared in the sky. They were densely packed together. The surface of each mountain was drawn with all kinds of strange golden runes, shining brilliantly, like a divine mountain that had existed since ancient times. As soon as the divine mountains appeared in the void, they all began to free fall, falling in an orderly manner toward the demonic enchantresses below. Boom, boom, boom. The divine mountains fell from the sky, and the demonic enchantresses' many demonic shadows could not dodge in time. Most of them were crushed to death. In the blink of an eye, the thousands of demonic shadows were reduced to a few afterimages with missing limbs. These afterimages gathered together again, turning into the demonic enchantress's true body. Fat. The demonic enchantress knelt on the ground, spitting out mouthfuls of blood. She looked at Zhuowen, her eyes full of fear. Zhuowen. You are Zhuowen. The demonic enchantress stared at Zhuowen and finally spoke her guess. Zhuoan smiled and did not answer. He slowly walked toward the demonic succubus, and the sword finger on his right hand slowly landed between her eyebrows. After the demonic enchantress fell to the ground with her eyes wide open, Zhuoan slowly stood up and looked at the 30 elites of the limitless demon sect who were still watching from afar. XDW8 Noticing Zhuoan's gaze, the 30 elites of the limitless demon sect felt their hearts tremble. Then, they knelt down in front of Zhuoan. "We are willing to serve you as our master. Please spare our lives," they said cautiously. "To me, all of you are just burdens." Zhuoan said indifferently. The 30 elites were left speechless as they knelt on the ground, trembling with apprehension. "You should respect Black Lotus as your master. If you can help her become the sect master, it will be enough to atone for your crimes." Zhuoan glanced at Black Lotus, who was not far away, and said nonchalantly. The 30 elites were overjoyed. They hurriedly knelt down in front of Black Lotus and handed over their spiritual seals, acknowledging Black Lotus as their master. "Black Lotus, these are the elites of the limitless demon sect. With their support, you should be able to successfully become the new sect master. I have other things to do, so I will take my leave now." Zhuoan said a few words to Black Lotus. Then, he clasped his fists and left with Shan Lingyun. Since he had already obtained the demonic book, he naturally did not miss this place. Black Lotus looked at Zhuoan's back as he left. His mouth was full of bitterness, and there was a tinge of disappointment in his heart. After some disguise, Zhuoan headed south and arrived at the southern border of the newer realm. Zhuoan was afraid that the bright lamp old man and the other two might still be waiting at the northern border. Therefore, for safety reasons, he chose the southern border. After successfully passing the border inspection, Zhuoan took out a divine ship and headed toward the Void Yama realm. "Newer clan, there will be plenty of time to settle the score between us in the future." Looking at the southern border of the newer realm, Zhuoan muttered to himself. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. When he had left Pan-Yu Galaxy and headed to the 100 Domains, he had wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. Within 10,000 years, he had wanted to surpass the newer clan's leader, Huang Ju. Once 10,000 years had passed, the fact that the experts of the newer clan had died in Pan-Yu Galaxy would be exposed. And Pan-Yu Galaxy would face the revenge of the newer clan. With Pan-Yu Galaxy's strength, how could it be a match for a colossus like the newer clan? By then, it would definitely collapse and be annihilated in the chaotic starry sky. Fortunately, there was still quite some time before the 10,000-year deadline. Although Zhuoan could not do anything to the newer clan now. After he successfully broke through to the cosmic form, he was confident that even if he broke into the newer divine city of the newer clan alone, the experts of the newer clan might not be able to stop him. The 100 Domains have a total of 9 supreme realms. The supreme realms are completely separated from the high-grade, middle-grade, and low-grade realms. The supreme realms are independent worlds. Every supreme realm has many treasured lands and secret realms. The chaotic energy and the strength of the cultivators there are far superior to other realms. And the supreme realms do not have any ancient teleportation formations that are connected to the outside world. The only way to enter the supreme realms is to go to the Purple Jade Sacred City in the Purple Jade realm. Only by taking a special divine ship can one enter the supreme realms. On the deck, Zhuoan could not help but frown as he listened to Shan Lingyun's introduction. He did not expect that going to the supreme realms would be so troublesome. There was actually no corresponding ancient teleportation formation that could directly teleport one to the supreme realms. Purple Jade Realm? Is it the most powerful high-grade realm below the supreme realms? Zhuoan felt that the Purple Jade Realm was a little familiar and could not help but ask. Shan Lingyun nodded and said, "Yes, the Purple Jade Realm is the most powerful high-grade realm. It is much more powerful than the newer realm. What's more, the Zixuan realm is a very peculiar place. It's a society where women have a much higher status than men. As for the Zixuan clan, which dominates the Zixuan realm, they are all women." Zhuoan was a little surprised. He did not expect that the Purple Jade Realm was actually dominated by women. Furthermore, I heard that the Zixuan domain was only considered to be in the lower middle class among the many high-class domains in the distant past. The reason why it was able to rise so quickly to become the number 1 high-class domain was because the Zixuan clan produced an outstanding beauty who hooked up with several supreme domain experts and obtained their help, Shan Lingyun said softly. Hearing this, Zhuowen shook his head and laughed. This was called going through the back door or unspoken rules on Earth. Since we are going to the Supreme Realms, we must take the divine ship from the Purple Jade Sacred City of the Purple Jade Realm. Let's go to the Purple Jade Realm first, Zhuowen said lightly. About half a month's journey from here, there is a high-grade realm called the Shuran Realm. In this realm, there is an ancient teleportation formation that leads directly to the Purple Jade Realm. We can go to the Shuran Realm first. Shan Lingyun unfolded a huge ancient map scroll. Her small head was covered by the ancient scroll. She read it carefully and gave her opinion. Yes. According to Master Xiao He, we can reach in half a month. Zhuowen nodded and looked at Xiao He, who was steering the divine ship. Hehe, leave it to me. Xiao He grinned. Chapter 43-25. Half a month later, Zhuowen and the rest arrived at the Shuran domain. Shuran. Although the Shuran domain was also a high-level domain, it was ranked last among the 16 high-level domains. In terms of power and resources, it was much weaker than the newer domain. The ancient teleportation formation that leads directly to the Zixuan Sacred City is located in the Shuran Divine City, the core city of the Shuran domain. The Shuran Divine City is in the northeast, about a day and a half away from us. On the deck, Shan Lingyun held an ancient map scroll that was half her size as she gave out instructions in a logical manner. This little girl, it's easy for her to talk. She only needs to look at the ancient map scroll and she can order me around. I'm just a laborer. What a tough life. Xiao He muttered, but her hands did not slow down. She changed the direction of the divine ship and headed toward the northeast. First, when they were half a day away from the Shuran Divine City, the divine ship suddenly shook violently as if it had been hit by a heavy blow. The body of the ship spun rapidly in the air, and a huge hole appeared on the side of the divine ship. Zhuowen, who had been cultivating with his eyes closed in the depths of the ship, suddenly opened his eyes and went to the deck. Xiao He, what's wrong? Zhuowen looked at Xiao He, who was trying her best to stabilize the ship, and asked with a frown. Little Black's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Someone suddenly attacked our divine ship. It's over there. Wen looked in the direction that Xiao He was pointing. A few thousand meters away in the northeast, a black divine ship was speeding toward them. On the deck of the black divine ship stood a middle-aged man in a luxurious robe. His eyes were filled with mockery and viciousness. While, on both sides of the black divine ship, there were more than 10 pitch-black cannons neatly arranged. At this moment, these cannons were shooting out blazing white light, which condensed into a terrifying attack that shot toward Zhuowen's divine ship. Is this person crazy? We have no enmity with him. Why is he suddenly attacking us? Xiao He cursed, but her actions were not slow. She controlled the divine ship to continuously dodge the light cannons fired by the black divine ship. The black divine ship had clearly been modified at a later stage. There were many powerful cannons installed on it. On the other hand, Zhuowen's divine ship was just an ordinary divine ship for civilian use. It didn't have any offensive equipment. In front of the black divine ship, Zhuowen's divine ship was simply a live target. It could only dodge and not attack. Xiao He's skills were really good, and he managed to dodge all the light cannons. Wow! Master Long, your piloting skills are amazing. You can travel freely in front of so many light cannons. Shaposhan's eyes lit up as he clapped his hands and praised. Little Black had a smug look on his face as he said, "Of course. Why don't you think about how many years this Dragon Lord has been piloting the divine ship? Naturally, my skills are top-notch. Be careful." Wen suddenly reminded her loudly. Xiao He, who was originally proud of herself, immediately woke up. Ran after that, Xiao He was shocked to discover that the black divine ship no longer used the light cannons to attack. Instead, it directly crashed into them. The black divine ship's pitch-black bow, which was like copper tendons and iron bones, crashed heavily into the side of Zhuowen's divine ship. Boom! Bang! A terrifying explosion resounded as Zhuo Wen's divine ship was split into two halves. Zhuo Wen's face was gloomy. He formed hand seals with both hands and took out array discs. He quickly set up a gluing formation and quickly pieced the divine ship that was originally split into two pieces back together. Black on the deck of the divine ship, the middle-aged man looked at Zhuowen in surprise. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth as he steered the black divine ship away. "You're courting death." Zhuowen's heart was filled with hostility. He didn't offend anyone, and he didn't even know this middle-aged man. Yet, he was attacked for no reason. Anyone would be very unhappy when encountering such a thing. After Zhuowen stabilized the divine ship, he leaped up and used the primordial chaos movement technique to the extreme. He quickly chased after the black divine ship. The black divine ship was extremely fast, much faster than Zhuowen's divine ship. Zhuowen used the primordial chaos movement technique to the extreme, but he could only barely keep up with the speed of the black divine ship. Black on the divine ship, the middle-aged man seemed to have sensed something. He turned his head and looked at Zhuowen, who was constantly chasing after him. His eyes revealed a look of surprise before it was replaced by a thick look of mockery. A mere mid-stage cosmic tribulation trash. Your movement technique is not bad. You can actually catch up to my divine ship. If I wasn't being chased by someone and couldn't afford to waste time, I wouldn't mind stopping to play with you. The middle-aged man muttered to himself with a faint smile. He gently pinched the void with his right hand, and a pitch-black light suddenly burst out from his palm. Origin, the black divine ship, which was originally extremely fast, suddenly erupted with a strange black fog. Then, the black divine ship's speed doubled, and in the blink of an eye, it shook off Zhuowen. Zhuowen stopped and looked at the black dot that was getting further and further away. He felt a little helpless. This person's divine ship was very unusual. Its speed was almost comparable to an ordinary peak cosmic Dharma idol expert. Counter, on the other hand, the middle-aged man's cultivation was relatively ordinary. He was probably around the late-stage cosmic Dharma idol. If he were to clash with Zhuowen head-on, with Zhuowen using all his trump cards, this person would not be a match for Zhuowen. Only yes, Zhuowen was very puzzled. What was the meaning of this person crashing into his divine ship for no reason? Was there something wrong with his brain? When Zhuowen returned to where Xiao He and the others were, his expression suddenly changed. Only he saw that there were dozens of figures surrounding his divine ship. In the group, there were two people in the lead. One was an extremely beautiful woman, and the other was an old man wearing divine armor. While the dozens of figures were also wearing divine armor similar to the old man's. Obviously, this old man should be the leader of this group. However, this old man, who seemed to be the leader, was respectful and reverent to the beautiful woman beside him. His eyes were full of awe. "Hey, I already said that we don't have the divine fire seed that you mentioned. I don't even know what it is." On the ship, Xiao He was cursing and explaining. However, its words were obviously useless. This group of people surrounding them had no intention of retreating at all. "Everyone, what is the meaning of this?" Zhuowen hurried over and landed on the divine ship. He looked at the old man and the beautiful woman in front of him and asked in a low voice. Linked to Zhuowen's surprise, the aura of the old man and the beautiful woman were not weak. Ling Tian, not to mention the old man in divine armor. His aura was even stronger than the beautiful woman's, but he had not reached the level of inverse ancient starlight. The old man should be half a step into inverse ancient starlight. His strength was much stronger than the beautiful woman's. As for the beautiful woman, her cultivation was at the peak cosmic Dharma idol level. Following, the dozens of people around the two of them were basically above the great calamity of heaven and earth. In the Shuran domain, only the Shuran clan could send out so many great calamity of heaven and earth cultivators at once. Chapter 43-26. I am Shi Sheng, the clan leader of the Shuran clan. This is the third saintess of the Zi Xian clan, Her Highness Zi Long. Why don't you kneel down and greet us? Shi Sheng shouted with a dignified expression. The third saintess of the Zi Xian clan? Zhuowen looked at the beautiful woman beside the old man in surprise. He did not expect to meet the saintess of the Zixuan clan here. During his time in the Zixuan realm, Zhuowen had also investigated many major forces in the Zixuan realm. In the Zixuan clan, women were in charge, and the most respected leader was the female supremacy. The Zixuan clan was led by two female supremacies, and these two were said to be experts in the inverse starlight realm. Under the female supremacy was the saintess. The Zixuan clan had a total of 5 saintesses, and their status was second only to the female supremacy. In fact, they were the leaders of the Zixuan clan on the surface. This was because the two female supremacies in the Zixuan clan were extremely mysterious. They were elusive, and all the matters in the clan were basically handled by the 5 saintesses. Seeing that Zhuowen did not intend to kneel down and greet him, Shisheng's wrinkled face showed displeasure. Just as he was about to scold Zhuowen, the third saintess Zilong waved her hand and stopped Shisheng. "We are following the aura of the divine fire seed. From what I can sense, the aura of the divine fire seed is on your divine ship. If you want to get rid of suspicion, you can let us search your divine ship." Zilong's voice was as clear as an oriole's, and it was like a spring breeze. Zhuowen's heart sank. He immediately remembered the middle-aged man on the black divine ship who had attacked his divine ship for no reason. He clearly remembered that the middle-aged man had a mocking smile on his face after crashing into his divine ship. Could it be that the middle-aged man deliberately left the so-called divine fire seed on his divine ship when he crashed into their divine ship? "Okay. You can search, but I hope you can do it quickly. We are in a hurry." Zhuowen nodded and gestured for Xiao He and the others to leave the divine ship. He also complained unintentionally, "Today is really unlucky. We were just attacked by a black divine ship and almost lost our lives. Now, we are going to be searched again. If I had known earlier, I would have checked the almanac before leaving today." After Zilong arranged for people to enter the divine ship to search, she naturally heard Zhuowen's complaints. Her beautiful eyes brightened. "Fellow Daoist, just now, you said that you were attacked by a black divine ship. Then, did you clearly see who was piloting the black divine ship?" Zilong approached Zhuowen and quickly asked. Of course, he saw it clearly. That damned dog had the appearance of a middle-aged man. He had a big nose and squinted eyes. We were on our way, but this son of a bitch suddenly attacked us. This is really infuriating. If this Lord Dragon catches this son of a bitch, this Lord Dragon will definitely cut him into 1,000 pieces and let him have a taste of being ked by a dog. When she mentioned the black ship and the middle-aged man, Xiao He immediately cursed out loud. She was extremely agitated as she constantly described what had happened. "I knew it. On the day we lost the sacred fire seed, Fei Pengze suddenly went out for some business. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? The sacred fire seed was indeed stolen by him. Sure enough, every man is a good thing." Zilong frowned and coldly snorted while gritting her teeth. Zhuowen was somewhat speechless as he looked at Zilong, who had expected better from him. He actually wanted to retort that there were actually good men. Her conclusion was too arbitrary. No. However, when he saw that Zilong was about to explode, Zhuowen tactfully remained silent. He didn't want to provoke this woman. Very quickly. Soon, this group of cultivators searched Zhuowen's divine ship and found a pitch-black crystal that was half the size of a palm in the depths of the ship. This is the waste of the sacred fire seed. Fei Pengze actually knows how to extract the sacred fire seed. He approached the second saintess with impure intentions. Zilong exclaimed. Zilong held the pitch-black crystal in her hand and secretly sighed. She understood that after the sacred fire seed was extracted, even if he found Fei Pengze and killed him, he wouldn't be able to get back the complete sacred fire seed. Because, once the sacred fire seed was extracted, it couldn't be used again. This time, her mission had clearly ended in failure. Zilong glanced at Zhuowen and thought that this mission wasn't completely fruitless. At least she had figured out who stole the sacred fire seed. "Can you tell me which direction the black divine ship escaped in?" Zilong asked. Zhuowen pointed in the direction the black divine ship escaped and said, "His black divine ship is very fast. I'm afraid you won't be able to catch up in time. Zilong didn't reply. Instead, she used her movement technique and chased in the direction Zhuowen pointed. About an hour later, Zilong returned to this place. Lord Zilong, did you catch up to that person? Shisheng hurriedly went up and asked in a fawning manner. Zilong shook her head. Her beautiful eyes stared at Zhuowen and said, I need you to come with me to Zishen Holy City. I need you to testify for me regarding Fei Pengze. Zhuowen frowned slightly. Zilong was a little too full of herself. He had never met Zilong before. She didn't even ask for his name and wanted him to testify for her. Could it be that in this woman's eyes, everyone should listen to her orders and act according to her wishes? Although Zhuowen's destination was Zishen Holy City, he didn't like the feeling of being ordered around. If Zilong was polite and asked him to go, he might have gladly gone. But, if he followed Zilong, he would definitely be interrogated by the upper echelons of the Zishen clan. This wasn't something Zhuowen liked. You and I have never met before. I don't owe you anything. I refuse to go with you to Zishen Holy City, Zhuowen said lightly. Zilong's beautiful eyes widened. She obviously didn't expect Zhuowen to reject her request. As the third holy maiden of the Zishen clan, her status was high and her word was law. Since others had always fawned over her and listened to her, no one had ever rejected her request. But now, this unprepossessing young man in front of her actually rejected her request. Zilong wrinkled her nose and didn't understand. Do I still need a reason to refuse? Zhuowen shook his head speechlessly and continued, if there's nothing else, then we'll take our leave. Stop right there. You've got guts. What kind of status does Lord Zilong have? You actually dare to be so impudent. Do you want to die? Shisheng brought several dozen people and blocked Zhuowen's path, berating Zhuowen loudly. Zhuowen looked at Shisheng coldly and said indifferently, What? Could it be that if I refuse, you all will kill me? You offended Lord Zilong, that's courting death. Even if I kill you 1,000 times, 10,000 times, it's still not enough to redeem your great sin, Shisheng said with a cold smile. It's fine if you like to be someone else's dog, but why force others to be your dog? Don't do to others what you don't want done to you, haven't you heard before? Zhuowen shook his head and said with a sneer. You're courting death. Shisheng was fuming with anger. This boy actually dared to mock him as a dog. This was simply humiliating him in public. A mere middle-stage universe Great Tribulation trash actually dares to insult me. You've already committed a great crime. I'll execute you on the spot. Killing intent surged in Shisheng's eyes. His right hand was like lightning, fiercely grabbing at Zhuowen's face. Chapter 43-27. Zhuowen looked calmly at Shisheng's attack that was getting closer and closer. A strong gust of wind swept over and blew Zhuowen's hair. The moment Shisheng attacked, Zhuowen noticed that Zilong was standing at the side and watching coldly. There was even a mocking smile at the corner of her mouth. Look. Zilong was not a good person. She was silently allowing Shisheng to kill him. Boom. An ear-piercing explosion sounded continuously. Shisheng's attack was close at hand. His claws were like cast iron. With one claw, it was as if he could tear Zhuowen apart. You're dead, trash, Shisheng shouted. Sheng grinned and silently mocked Zhuowen, who did not move at all. Boom. Shisheng's claws hit Zhuowen's body, and the entire space stirred up waves of terrifying ripples. Then, he was shocked to find that Zhuowen's entire body was shattered. He could even hear the sound of surging waves. Boom. The shattered Zhuowen turned into water splashes and fell from the sky, silently merging into the depths of the earth. Boom. The moment Zhuowen used the secret technique of water escape, Xiao He, Shapotian, and Shan Lingyun entered the parallel world. He's dead? Shisheng asked. Sheng looked at Zhuowen, who had turned into water splashes and merged into the earth, and muttered to himself in a daze. Zilong, who was watching by the side, suddenly narrowed her eyes. Boom. She stretched out her slender jade-like hand and pointed at the ground where the formless water had landed. Boom. Boom. The ground exploded, forming a deep, pitch-black crater. He disappeared. Even his aura seemed to have evaporated. What kind of secret technique is this? Zilong looked down at the huge pit in front of her silently. Her beautiful eyes flickered, and she could not help but click her tongue in wonder. Master Zilong, do you mean that the kid just escaped? Shisheng came to Zilong's side and naturally heard what she said. He could not help but ask with his eyes wide open. In Shisheng's opinion, it was impossible for Zhuowen, who was merely at the middle stage of the universe Great Tribulation, to survive his attack. He really did run away. This child's cultivation is not very high, but he has many tricks up his sleeves. Just now, after he turned into the formless water, his aura completely disappeared. If I had not been observing from the side, I would also have thought that this child was dead, Zilong said. Shisheng's expression was a little ugly. He had originally planned to perform well in front of Zilong to gain her favor. As the saintess of the Zishen clan, Zilong was respected and admired by tens of thousands of people. She was much more glorious than him, the clan leader of the Shuran clan. If he could establish a connection with Zilong, he and the Shuran domain that he was in charge of would benefit greatly. Now, Zhuowen had escaped right under his nose, causing him to lose face. Shisheng hated Zhuowen so much that his teeth itched. Master Zilong, should we continue to pursue Fei Pengze? Shisheng asked. He should still be in the Shuran domain. Patrol carefully during this period of time. If you receive any news of him, do not try to alert him. Inform me immediately, Zilong said in a low voice. Shisheng said somewhat disapprovingly, Master Zilong, you are being too careful. That Fei Pengze is only at the late stage of the cosmic Dharma stage. I alone am enough to capture this person. Zilong's expression turned cold and said rudely, what do you know? Fei Pengze's cultivation is not very high, but he has an extremely fast and powerful black divine ship. In addition, this person is extremely cunning. Once you alert him, you may not be able to capture him smoothly. Shisheng quickly nodded and did not dare to object anymore. Let's go. I need to make a trip back to Zishen Holy City to bring back the news of Fei Pengze. It's a pity, if we could capture that person alive and not testify for us, the following matters would become very simple. Zishen said. Zilong thought of the second saintess's unreasonable personality and extremely protective nature. If there was no concrete evidence, the second saintess would definitely stand on the side of her husband, Fei Pengze. Although it was troublesome, Zilong also knew that with the passage of time, his deduction would definitely be confirmed. She did not believe that Fei Pengze, who had stolen the divine fire seed, would dare to return to the Zishen Holy City. At thousands of kilometers away, the invisible water that Zhuowen had transformed into appeared on the shore of a river and reformed into a human form. Shisheng and Zilong are really unreasonable. They killed people just because they moved. Isn't this a little too much? Dan Shan said. Lingyun came out of the great world and waved her little fist angrily. The weak are prey to the strong, survival of the fittest. This has always been the rule of the path of cultivation. Zhuowen, on the other hand, was very calm. He did not feel indignant that Shisheng had killed him just because of a disagreement. At Thane, the world of cultivators, there were no rules. Whoever had the biggest fist could do whatever they wanted. Therefore, if one did not easily fall on the path of cultivation, then one had to be cunning and vigilant enough. One had to make oneself stronger, so strong that no one could threaten you. This divine ship has already been seen by Shisheng, Zilong, and the others. In order to avoid being recognized by them, let's change to another divine ship. After Zhuowen destroyed the already tattered divine ship, he took out another completely different divine ship from the Great World. At the same time in the Great World, there were many divine ships prepared in order to prevent things like today from happening. The group continued to move towards Sharant's divine ship. Bai Xiaohei became more cautious during the journey due to what had happened before, to the point of being somewhat nervous. As long as he saw other divine ships approaching from afar, Xiaohei would immediately run away as if he was running away, as if he was afraid that the divine ship would randomly bump into him, causing the cultivators passing by to be baffled. Originally, it was only half a day's journey away from Sharant's divine ship, but the overly cautious Xiao He took 2 days to arrive at Sharant's divine city. At the same time, Zhuoan, who had been using the primordial stone to deduce the incomplete demonic book obtained by the limitless demon sect, finally succeeded in deducing the incomplete part of the demonic book. Nothing is limitless, and the demonic is limitless. Limitless is limitless, and this is the limitless demonic Tao. Zhuoan slowly opened his eyes and muttered the first few sentences of the complete demonic book. The complete demonic book was called the limitless demonic book, and the cultivator of this demonic book was called the limitless demonic Tao. Even more, what surprised Zhuoan was that the limitless demonic book was a lawful embodiment of heaven and earth level demonic book. Strange, back then, the limitless demon sect relied on this demonic book to dominate several realms, and their foundation and power surpassed most of the high-grade realms. Zhuoan suspected that the founder of the limitless demon sect had only cultivated this demonic book to a small success stage. Thus the limitless demonic book was so powerful that if one could cultivate it to a large success stage, they would probably be able to reach the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth level. Back then, the limitless demon sect had not only dominated several realms, but had also leaped to become a new supreme realm. The limitless demonic book had a total of 4 levels, and each level was more difficult than the previous one. What interested Zhuoan even more was that the limitless demonic book wasn't the type of demonic technique that was domineering in attack, but a supportive demonic technique. Within the limitless demonic book, there weren't any offensive divine abilities, and the only divine ability was demonic die. Chapter 43-28. Mo Ran was the core ability of the limitless demon book. Its main function was to instantly contaminate all the cultivation methods, abilities, artifacts, and so on of the cultivator with a powerful demonic nature. Mo Ran would not cause any damage to the cultivator's abilities, cultivation methods, and artifacts. On the contrary, it would greatly enhance the cultivator's abilities, cultivation methods, and artifacts. While if Mo Ran was contaminated by an enemy, it would immediately demonize the enemy and greatly weaken the enemy. If the enemy's mind was weak, it would be easy to be controlled by Mo Ran and become a puppet of the cultivator. While and this degree of strengthening oneself and weakening the enemy would become stronger as one's cultivation of the limitless demon book became more profound. The more Zhuoan understood the limitless demon book, the brighter the light in his eyes. This limitless devil tome was simply made for the current him. In the newer domain, he had offended many experts of the super domains. If he directly entered the super domain like this, there was no doubt that the chances of being exposed would be very high. After all, many experts had seen his battle scenes and knew his aura and abilities. If he had Mo Ran's cover, even if he used the same ability, it would be a demonic ability. No one would associate it with him. Zhuoan did not immediately cultivate the limitless demon book. Instead, he walked out of the divine ship and brought Shan Lingyun and the others into Sharan God City in a low-key manner. Hey, Zhu Yuan, you are actually so familiar with Sharan God City. After entering Sharan God City, under Zhu Yuan's suggestion, they came to a relatively affordable inn near the center of the city. While and under Zhu Yuan's reminder, Sharan God City held the 10,000 Lanterns Festival in the last 3 days. The entire city was filled with a festive atmosphere. While in these 3 days, the ancient teleportation array will be temporarily closed. After the festival, it will open again. While Zhu Yuan smiled at Zhuoan's question and said casually, I stayed in Sharan God City for a period of time and happened to encounter the 10,000 Lanterns Festival. At that time, I was also going to Zixen Sacred City, but I had a closed door, so I have a deep impression of it. Wen looked at Zhu Yuan indifferently. Although he felt that Zhu Yuan was hiding something, he did not ask. After all, this was his private matter. In the inn's high-grade cultivation room, Zhuoan did not pay any attention to the outside world, and began to concentrate on cultivating the limitless devil scripture. In the process of using the primordial stone to deduce, he already had a very deep understanding of the cultivation of the limitless demonic scripture. Therefore, when he cultivated it, it was actually twice the effort for half the result. In just 3 days, He had successfully cultivated the first level of the limitless devil scripture. Mo ran. Zhuowen slowly stood up. His lips moved slightly as dense demonic fog wrapped around his entire body. In the depths of the demonic fog, a pair of crimson eyes appeared. From afar, it really did look like a demonic cultivator. The demonic mist gradually receded, revealing Zhuowen's true appearance. Under the influence of Mo Ran, Zhuowen's face also changed. His skin became fairer, and his eyes flashed with a demonic red light. The corners of his mouth curled up into a devilish smile. If Zhuowen used the primordial grand mist art to slightly alter his aura and appearance, even people familiar with him wouldn't be able to recognize him at first glance. Dong dong dong. There was a knock on the door, and then Shan Lingyun's voice sounded. Zhuowen opened the door, and Shan Lingyun was standing outside. See, when the door opened, Shan Lingyun was about to grumble, but when she raised her head and saw Zhuowen's face, she was stunned. Hey, did I knock on the wrong door? Shan Lingyun was confused. She looked at the door number subconsciously, and after confirming that it was correct, she looked at the demonic man in front of her with a strange gaze. This demonic man's eyes flashed with a red light, and it made her very uncomfortable. Zhuowen withdrew the effects of Mo Ran, and his appearance and aura returned to normal. It's me, Zhuowen said with a smile. Shan Lingyun patted her chest and rolled her eyes at Zhuowen. She curiously said, "Disciple, your disguise technique is getting more and more powerful. I didn't recognize you just now. If you didn't restore your appearance, I would have thought that I was facing a fiendish devil cultivator," Zhuowen said. Wen's smile grew wider. It seemed that the effects of Mo Ran were beyond his expectations. Even Shan Lingyun couldn't recognize him. The 10,000 Lanterns Festival is over. Today, the ancient teleportation array in Sharan God City will be reopened. We can teleport, Shan Lingyun said with a smile. Zhuowen nodded and said, "Before we go, you, the Ju Yuan, and the rest should enter my world first, in order to avoid unnecessary trouble," Shan Lingyun said. Shan Lingyun naturally knew what trouble Zhuowen was talking about. After all, they had offended Shisheng a few days ago. Zhuowen's disguise was better than theirs, and he could get away with it. However, they might not be able to do so. Shisheng, the ancient teleportation array in Sharan God City, was located in the central Great Temple. At this moment, there was a long queue outside the central Great Temple. Many cultivators were waiting to use the ancient teleportation array to go to other regions. Due to the delay of the 10,000 Lanterns Festival, there were many people waiting to use the ancient teleportation array today. There were only 2 ancient teleportation arrays in the central Great Temple, so the efficiency was very slow. Zhuoafter, when arrived at the central Great Temple, he silently queued at the back of the queue. Due to the effects of Mo Ran, although Zhuowen didn't deliberately release demonic aura, the faint cold demonic aura still affected the people queuing around him. No few people deliberately distanced themselves from Zhuowen. Their eyes were full of fear when they looked at the latter. Demonic cultivators did as they pleased and didn't stick to one pattern. They killed people as they pleased. Many cultivators didn't want to provoke demonic cultivators, let alone get too close to such dangerous people. Zhuowen, on the other hand, enjoyed it. At least he didn't need to queue with others. After a few hours, it was finally Zhuowen's turn. Dong. When they were about to enter the ancient teleportation array, 2 figures suddenly appeared from the depths of the God City. Everyone looked up. When they saw one of the elders, they were all in awe. As for the guards of the great shrine, they all knelt on the ground. Greetings to the great clan leader. The guards knelt on one knee and shouted in unison. This elder was the great clan leader of the Sharan clan, Shisheng. At this moment, Shisheng, the great leader of the clan, was following behind an extremely beautiful woman in an ingratiating manner. He had a servile and subservient appearance. This beautiful woman was the 3rd saintess of the Zixien clan, Zilong too. When they arrived at the gate of the central Great Temple, Shisheng glanced at Zhuowen expressionlessly and shouted, "Get lost." The 2 guards in charge of the ancient teleportation array also rudely blocked in front of Zhuowen with their long spears and rudely pushed him out. "Are you deaf? Why haven't you scrammed to the side yet? The guard bluntly shouted and smiled at Shisheng. As the great clan leader of the Shuran clan, you don't even abide by the rules set by your own clan. Instead, you wantonly cut the line. Isn't this a bit unbefitting of your status as a great clan leader? Zhuowen said indifferently. Shisheng, who had originally ignored Zhuowen, narrowed his eyes and turned to look coldly at Zhuowen. He said, "What did you say?" Zilong frowned and said impatiently, "Shisheng, I'm in a hurry. If you want to quarrel, you don't have to follow me to Zishen Sacred City. I can go by myself." Shisheng hurriedly nodded and bowed. He coldly looked at Zhuowen and gave the surrounding guards a look. Then, he brought Zilong into the ancient teleportation array on the left. Clang! After Shisheng and Zilong were teleported away, all the guards in the central Great Temple rushed out and surrounded Zhuowen. Chapter 43-29. What do you mean? Zhuowen raised an eyebrow, looking at the many guards who had completely surrounded him. His heart was full of sneers. How could he not have noticed the meaningful look in Shisheng's eyes before he left? He really did not expect Shisheng to be such a narrow-minded person. He was just speaking a few words of justice, but he still intended to capture him. You already know the answer. You have openly contradicted our great clan master. You should be sentenced to death. However, my Shuran clan is not unreasonable. If you take out 10 billion chaos crystals, or a treasure of the same value, we can sentence you to a suspended sentence. As long as you can take out something better, your crime will continue to be reduced, and you will eventually be acquitted. The leader of the team was a middle-aged man with a brandy nose. He looked mockingly at Zhuowen, shamelessly extorting him in public. Many of the cultivators who were lining up around the great temple retreated a distance. Their faces were calm, and they were not surprised by the middle-aged man's threatening words. Evidently, they had long known about the shameless style of the Shuran clan and were accustomed to it. Among the spectators, many people showed a look of pity for Zhuowen. XDW8 This person was too outspoken. He dared to speak to Shisheng like that. Wasn't this the same as hitting the muzzle of a gun? No wonder your Shuran domain can only be at the bottom of the 16 higher domains. As the saying goes, if the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. Your great clan master is not a good thing, and your group of subordinates are a group of vermin. I can see that in less than 100 years, your Shuran domain will not be able to maintain its status as a higher domain. Zhuowen shook his head, speaking bluntly. It seemed that the reason why the Shuran domain fell behind the other higher domains was not without reason. A group of garbage that did not do any work was managing the Shuran domain. It was simply a pipe dream for the Shuran domain to be prosperous and catch up with the other higher domains. Zhuowen simply wouldn't stop until his words shocked people to death. His one sentence thoroughly stunned everyone. He was planning to offend the Shuran clan. How dare you criticize our Shuran clan? Do you not put our Shuran clan in your eyes? The brandy-nosed middle-aged man's face was gloomy, his eyes bursting with strong murderous intent as he stared at Zhuowen. I'm sorry, I really don't put your Shuran clan in my eyes. Also, you talk a lot of nonsense, you can shut up. Zhuowen replied without turning his head, intending to enter the great temple. He did not want to be entangled with these people. Now, he only wanted to rush to Zishen Saint City as soon as possible. However, even though he wanted to leave, the group of guards had no intention of letting him go. The red-nosed middle-aged man stood in front of Zhuowen, and the smile on his face was cold. Where do you think you're going? The middle-aged man's aura was rampant. The aura of the early Dharma laws of the universe rushed out of his body like an erupting volcano. I came to your Shuran divine city to use your ancient teleportation array. I think you'd better not stop me. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious. Zhuowen's eyes surged with viciousness. He had been obstructed time and time again, and he was already very impatient. Are you threatening me? A mere mid-stage universe tribulation and dares to threaten me? The middle-aged man laughed. Just as he finished speaking, the killing intent in his eyes suddenly erupted. The aura of an early-stage Dharma idol was completely released. A huge Dharma idol floated in the void behind him. It was hundreds of feet tall and looked down at all the living beings around the great temple. Arrogant disciple, I won't kill you today. I'll cripple your limbs, cultivation, and soul. Then, I'll bring you back to the torture hall for interrogation. When the great clan master returns, I'll convict you. The middle-aged man merged into the huge Dharma idol. He slowly opened his mouth, and his magnificent voice spread throughout the entire divine city like a mighty heavenly might. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the huge Dharma idol's palm fell, crushing down on Zhuowen's head. It was as heavy and terrifying as a mountain. The many cultivators who had retreated a distance away were frightened when they saw the middle-aged man suddenly attack. Only when they were far enough away did they watch with lingering fear as the palm that was constantly burning with Dharma idol flames engulfed Zhuowen's tiny figure. Then, there was a shocking explosion on the ground where the divine city was located. Everyone secretly shook their heads. They knew that the young demonic cultivator was dead meat. After all, the young demonic cultivator's cultivation was too weak. He was only at the mid-stage of the universe tribulation. However, to everyone's astonishment, the huge Dharma idol's palm that was as heavy as a towering mountain suddenly collapsed. The huge Dharma idol let out a rather shrill and angry cry. It covered its collapsed right palm and retreated. The place where the young demonic cultivator stood suddenly surged with a strange demonic aura. In the pitch-black and deep demonic aura, two scarlet spots of light were so conspicuous and demonic. Bang! Suddenly, the ground exploded with a clap of thunder. In the surging demonic aura, the two scarlet spots of light suddenly shot up and charged towards the retreating Dharma idol. Only then did everyone see clearly that the two scarlet spots of light were a pair of eyes filled with demonic aura, and the young demonic cultivator was within the demonic aura. He held a demonic sword in his right hand that was also enveloped in demonic aura and rushed in front of the Dharma idol at lightning speed. The Dharma idol roared and swept its other arm towards the young demonic cultivator. Clang! The young demonic cultivator did not dodge. He held the demonic sword in front of him and slashed out. Everyone was dumbfounded to find that the other arm of the Dharma idol had been chopped off from the shoulder. Clang, clang, clang! The young demonic cultivator was like a bolt of black lightning, flashing around the huge Dharma idol. His speed was too fast, so fast that even the middle-aged man in the Dharma idol could not see him clearly. When the young demonic cultivator finally stopped at the top of the great shrine, he held the demonic sword in his right hand and placed it by his side. A pair of scarlet eyes looked coldly at the huge Dharma idol not far away. The middle-aged man stared at the young demonic cultivator in the great shrine. He wanted to rush up and tear the young demonic cultivator to pieces. However, a sense of powerlessness overwhelmed his heart. Then, he was shocked to find that his Dharma idol had begun to split into pieces and finally collapsed into countless specks of light. The middle-aged man spat out a large mouthful of blood and fell to the ground in a sorry state. His entire body convulsed, and his entire body was in heart-wrenching pain. How can you be so strong? Are you really an expert in the middle stage of the great tribulation of heaven and earth? The middle-aged man stared at the young demonic cultivator in the great shrine and asked in disbelief. All the cultivators around the great shrine seemed to have become mutes. They stared dumbfoundedly at the scene in front of them that was extremely inconceivable to them. Zhuowen ignored the middle-aged man. Instead, he jumped down from the great shrine and walked towards one of the ancient teleportation arrays in the great shrine. Chapter 43:30. You want to leave? Do you think it's that easy? The middle-aged man's eyes were full of resentment. After watching Zhuowen enter the great shrine, he quietly took out a formation flag from his waist, spat a mouthful of blood on the formation flag, and crushed it. He was the person in charge of the two ancient teleportation formations in the great shrine, so he naturally had some control over the two ancient teleportation formations. After crushing the formation flag, he immediately sent a message back to the inner city and asked someone to ring the emergency bell. After entering the great shrine, Zhuowen came to the ancient teleportation formation on the left. Although there was no teleporter to help the ancient teleportation formation now. However, Zhuoan was a divine array master at the second heaven of the eternal realm. It was not difficult for him to activate this ancient teleportation formation. However, just as he was about to activate the ancient teleportation formation, he suddenly found that the formation patterns around the ancient teleportation formation began to become chaotic. A terrifying and violent energy was condensing in the ancient teleportation formation, as if it would explode at any time. The teleportation formation self-destructed. Zhuoan immediately thought of something and quickly left the Great Shrine without thinking. However, as soon as he stepped out of the Great Shrine, the two ancient teleportation formations exploded. The entire Great Shrine was sucked in by the strange space-time turbulence, and then disappeared without a trace, leaving only an empty space. Zhuoan looked at the empty space in front of him, and his face turned ugly. Just now, if he had come out one step later, he would have been sucked into the space-time turbulence. The space-time turbulence was extremely unstable. Even if Zhuoan was strong enough now, if he was sucked into it, there was a high probability that he would die. At the same time, in the innermost part of the divine city, there was an extremely urgent bell ringing, each higher than the previous one. The strong sound waves affected everyone in the divine city, causing their hearts to beat faster and their expressions to become vigilant. Waves of powerful aura gushed out from the inner city and rushed toward this side. Around the divine city, a city-guarding formation had been activated at some point in time. An energy shield formed by complicated runes enveloped the entire divine city. You can't escape. You're dead for offending our Shuran clan. The red-nosed middle-aged man forced himself to sit up and leaned against the small stone block next to him. He looked mockingly at Zhuoan, whose face did not look too good, and said sarcastically, "You really want to die?" Zhuoan sucked in a deep breath and walked towards the middle-aged man. He suddenly stabbed out with the mist-shrouded Taiyu sacred sword, aiming for the middle-aged man's neck. Sensing the intense killing intent in Zhuoan's eyes, the middle-aged man panicked. However, just as the demonic sword was about to hit the middle-aged man, a divine spear suddenly appeared out of nowhere and blocked the demonic sword. Zhuoan couldn't help but take a few steps back. He narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction of the inner city. Over there, an old man was rapidly flying over, and this divine spear was thrown over by this old man. The second clan leader is here. Kid, are you still not going to surrender? When the red-nosed middle-aged man saw the old man flying over, his eyes were filled with joy as if he had survived a calamity. He looked at Zhuoan and once again regained his previous arrogance. Whoosh! The old man landed in front of the red-nosed middle-aged man. His skinny right hand grabbed the handle of the divine spear that was stuck in the ground. With a slight force, he pulled the divine spear out and held it upside down in his hand. Who are you? Why are you causing trouble in my Shuran divine city? The old man's expression was calm. He stared coldly at Zhuoan and asked coldly, "Whoosh, whoosh." At the same time, another 5 experts surrounded Zhuoan and blocked off all of Zhuoan's escape routes. Behind them, there were hundreds of elite cultivator troops. They were arranged in a complicated formation and stared at Zhuoan covetously. To Zhuoan's surprise, the second clan leader that the middle-aged man spoke of was not weak. He had already reached the peak of the cosmic avatar realm. However, the sense of danger that the old man gave him was not as strong as the sense of danger that the handsome girl and the old man gave him. This old man should have just broken through to the peak of the cosmic avatar realm and had not completely stabilized his realm. Otherwise, his aura would not be so unstable. Just as Zhuoan had guessed, the second clan leader of the Shuran clan had indeed just broken through and had been in seclusion in the depths of the inner city. The reason why he came out of seclusion was naturally because of the bell just now. This bell would only ring when the divine city was in a life-and-death situation. Therefore, the old man did not care about the instability of his realm and immediately came out of seclusion. However, to the old man's displeasure, after he came out, he only saw Zhuoan alone. There were no cultivator armies from other high-level realms invading. This made the old man look coldly at the red-nosed middle-aged man. He knew that this person had lied. Causing trouble in your Shuran divine city? Zhuoan shook his head and said disdainfully, "As you can see, my cultivation is not high. Do you think I have the ability to cause trouble in your Sharan divine city? The second clan leader also realized that something was wrong. He turned to look at the middle-aged man and asked, Chen Wei, what's going on? If you don't give me a satisfactory answer, I will punish you according to the rules of the clan. The red-nosed man named Chen Wei was so scared that his whole body trembled. He hurriedly said, Second clan leader, don't be deceived by this person. He hid his cultivation. Just now, he defeated me in a few moves. If you hadn't arrived, I would have died. Also, this person contradicted the great clan leader. We advised him to restrain himself, but he did not want face and became more and more arrogant. The great clan leader did not remember the mistakes of a lowly person and ignored him. Instead, he followed Lord Zilong to Zishen sacred city. After the great clan leader left, this person became more and more arrogant and kept insulting our Sharan clan. What's more, he even said that the ancient teleportation array of our Sharan divine city was trash. He actually destroyed the ancient teleportation array and the great shrine in front of us. I wanted to stop him, but I was seriously injured by him. Second clan leader, this person is not here to cause trouble. Could it be that he is here to help us? The second clan leader frowned. He turned to look at the other guards and said, What Chen Wei said is true. That is indeed the case. What Lord Chen said is true. Yes, this person is a demonic cultivator. His actions are indeed too domineering. Lord Chen tried to persuade him, but he directly attacked. It's too hateful. Many guards said the same thing and pushed all the blame to Zhuoan. You don't put our Sharan clan in your eyes at all? Your courage is commendable. You even destroyed the great shrine and the ancient teleportation array. Your sins will not be repaid even with death. Hurry up and surrender. The second clan leader shouted coldly at Zhuoan. Zhuoan shook his head and said, If I say that what Chen Wei and the others said is nonsense, and that not only do I have no intention of causing trouble in your Sharan divine city, but that the great shrine and the ancient teleportation array were destroyed by Chen Wei himself, would you believe me? According to what you said, all of this is Chen Wei's fault and has nothing to do with you. Young man, if you want to make up a reason, you have to make up a reliable one. You are too lame. The second clan leader shook his head and said contemptuously, Sigh, as expected, your Sharan clan is the same. Why am I talking so much nonsense with you? Since you insist on forcing me, then I will cause trouble in your Sharan divine city today. Zhuoan looked at Chen Wei, who was standing behind the second clan leader and laughing at his misfortune, and couldn't help but shake his head. He didn't explain anymore. Instead, he used his actions to tell everyone in the Sharan clan that he, Zhuoan, was not someone to be trifled with. XDW 8. Chapter 43-31. Swoosh. Zhuoan took a step forward, and the billowing demonic aura swept out in all directions like a tidal wave. While the scarlet in his eyes became more and more intense, making it difficult to look at him directly. Zhuoan's speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he bypassed the 5 experts surrounding him and swept toward Chen Wei. While this person was full of nonsense and had been targeting him from the beginning, Zhuoan naturally wanted to get rid of this person first. How dare you? The second leader of the Ran clan shouted coldly, and his right hand blasted out into the void, revealing a huge arm of Dharma power. The rolling Dharma power spread out and rushed into the sky, as if it had the tendency to burn the sky. Zhuoan held the sword in his right hand and slashed out fiercely. The pitch-black demonic sword flashed with a strange light and collided with the arm of the Dharma power. Terrifying ripples spread out from between the two of them, and then Zhuoan could not help but retreat dozens of steps, and the arm of the second leader was also bombarded by the demonic sword and was pushed back a distance. Hey! You actually blocked it. It seems that Chen Wei was right. You have indeed concealed your cultivation, the second leader exclaimed in surprise, and his face became much more serious. He did not dare to be careless. He completely released his Dharma power and strode toward Zhuoan. The second leader's Dharma power was 500 feet tall, and its whole body was a human figure formed by many giant pillar-like divine spears. None. Whether it was the hands, the feet, or the body, They were all pieced together by many thick divine spears, and the huge head was shrouded in a solid steel mask, and its specific appearance could not be seen clearly. None. After Zhuoan was pushed back by the second leader, he was immediately surrounded by 5 experts who had been ready for a long time. The 5 of them also released their respective cosmic Dharma powers. 5. The 5 huge Dharma powers were divided into 5 directions, surrounding Zhuoan layer by layer. The cultivation of these 5 people was uneven. Among them, 2 were in the early cosmic Dharma powers, 2 were in the middle cosmic Dharma powers, and the last one was in the late cosmic Dharma powers. You'd better surrender, you bastard. My Sharan clan's experts have all come out, and this place is also Sharan Divine City. You already can't escape even if you have wings. With the support of 2 of his men, Chen Wei retreated to a safe distance. Looking at the surrounded Zhuoan, he couldn't help but gloat loudly. Zhuoan ignored Chen Wei's mockery and ridicule. Instead, he recalled the confrontation with the 2 clan masters. Just now, he hadn't used his full strength. It was just a casual strike of the sword, but he was on par with the 2 masters at the peak of the Dharma plane of the universe. If it was in the past, he would definitely be at a disadvantage in the confrontation just now, but it was different now. Look indeed, the limitless devil scripture's demonic die ability had greatly increased his battle prowess. While this was only the first level of the limitless devil scripture. If he cultivated to the 2nd, 3rd, or even 4th level, wouldn't the effects of his demonic corruption be even more astonishing? While moreover, Mo Ran did not just increase his battle prowess. His movement, senses of the soul, and even the Taiyu sacred sword in his hand had all been greatly enhanced. It could be said that the enhancement covered all aspects. Die. The 5 experts controlled the huge Dharma Laksana and launched a fierce attack on Zhuoan, who was surrounded in the middle. Just nice, I'll use you guys to test my spiritual sword essence in the state of demonic die. Zhuoan raised his head. The red light in his eyes suddenly blazed like a knife. He stared at the 5 terrifying Dharma Laksana attacks that were getting closer and closer, and the corners of his mouth lifted into a devilish smile. A strange, blood-red light suddenly surged from between his eyebrows. The bright red light flashed and disappeared. 5 scarlet spiritual sword essences appeared around Zhuoan. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 5 scarlet spiritual sword essences shot out in 5 different directions, piercing into the palms of the 5 Dharma Laksana. The 5 experts, who were originally unconcerned, suddenly changed their expressions when their Dharma Laksana's arms came into contact with the spiritual sword essences. Only the 5 spiritual sword essences suddenly ignited with a strange scarlet flame. Only the scarlet flame was like a spark that could start a prairie fire. As soon as it came into contact with the Dharma Laksana's arms, it spread rapidly, setting off a terrifying sea of scarlet fire. It actually suppressed and covered the Dharma Laksana on the surface of the Dharma Laksana's arms. The scarlet flame was extremely domineering. Once it was ignited, it spread rapidly and completely covered the 5 Dharma Laksana. Then, it quickly nibbled away at the energy of the cosmic Laksana. 5 of the 5 cosmic Laksana were immediately engulfed by the scarlet flame. The scarlet spiritual sword essences hidden in the depths of the scarlet flame shot out like poisonous snakes, piercing the practitioners inside the Dharma Laksana. 5 in the blink of an eye, 4 of the 5 experts had fallen. The last expert had the strongest cultivation. He was at the late cosmic Laksana level, but he was barely holding on. Zhuo Wen's gaze fell on the last advanced cosmic Dharma adept. With a pinch of his right hand, the other 4 sword essences of the soul suddenly turned in mid-air and blasted towards the last advanced cosmic Dharma adept. Poof! Poof! Finally, the expert could not withstand the combined attack of the 5 spiritual sword essences. He spat out a mouthful of blood and involuntarily knelt on the ground. While the Dharma Laksana that covered the surface of his body finally could not hold on and collapsed with a loud bang. While he was sick, take his life. Zhuo Wen swept out like a ghost and appeared in front of the expert. He raised his sword and chopped off a head. In less than 3 breaths of time, the 5 most elite experts of the Sharan clan were killed by Zhuoan. This result completely shocked all the cultivators in the area. You're courting death. How dare you kill the people of the Shuran clan? The second leader had just arrived when he saw the 5 people killed. He was so angry that his eyes turned red. He held the spear in his right hand and stabbed it toward Zhuowen's forehead. Zhuowen leaped up and dodged the giant divine spear of the second leader's Dharma Laksana. He stood by the side and looked coldly at the second leader. Are you saying that only the people of the Shuran clan are allowed to kill me, but I'm not allowed to kill the people of the Shuran clan? What a joke. The second leader stared at Zhuowen and asked in a low voice, "Who are you?" The second leader finally calmed down. Zhuowen's strength was so strong that he knew that he was definitely not a nobody. Therefore, he finally opened his mouth to ask, "I'm just a passerby. I've said it before, I'm only here to use your ancient teleportation array. But you've provoked me time and time again, and you've even said that you want to punish me for my crimes. Do you really think that no one can punish the Shuran divine city?" Zhuowen said slowly. His right hand pointed at the void, and a huge Chen Kuan world appeared in the void behind him. This Chen Kuan world was shrouded in thick demonic fog. Vaguely, one could see that this Chen Kuan world had a total of 9 levels, and each level was surging with extremely terrifying calamity energy. Zhuowen was surprised to find that under the Chen Kuan state, the calamity in his Chen Kuan world was also dyed with a strange red light. The red light was demonic and fierce, and under the effect of the red light, the calamity on each level became more powerful and terrifying. Chapter 43-32. Universe World. This guy didn't hide his cultivation. Is he really in the Great Tribulation of Universe? The 2 clan masters looked at the huge world that appeared behind Zhuowen and were completely dumbfounded. During the battle, he had always thought that Zhuowen should also be an expert of the universe. Now that Zhuowen had exposed his universe world, the 2 clan masters were really terrified. He had never seen such an abnormal cultivator of the Great Tribulation of Universe in all his years of cultivation. Hey, there's something wrong with his universe world. There are actually 9 levels. Under careful observation, the clan master suddenly found that Zhuowen's universe world was very different. There were actually 9 levels of the world, and each level of the world had an unusual tribulation. Not to mention the aura of the turbulent tribulation energy in the 9th level of the world, it made his heart skip a beat. While the 2 clan masters were shocked by Zhuowen's strange universe world, Zhuowen's movements were as smooth as flowing water, opening the first 6 levels of the universe world. Fire, ice, blood lightning, black lightning, silver white and fiery red corrosive flood, and countless divine mountains with dense golden patterns. 6 terrifying and powerful tribulations blasted out from the universe world. Boom, boom, boom. The 6 tribulations swarmed over and smashed onto the 2 clan masters. The clan master roared angrily. On the huge body of the Dharma idol, huge divine spears shot out. Like a sea of spears, they arranged into an impenetrable spear barrier in front of the 2 clan masters. But this unusually strong spear barrier collapsed the moment it came into contact with the 6 tribulations. The 2 clan masters' pupils shrank. He obviously didn't expect the power of these 6 tribulations to be so terrifying. The spear barrier he set up couldn't withstand a single blow. But the 2 clan masters didn't panic. Although the power of these 6 tribulations was beyond his expectations, it was still within his range of tolerance. He formed a seal with both hands. On the back of the huge Dharma idol, a 7-colored divine spear suddenly swept out and was held in his palm. Boom, boom. The 2 clan masters' expression was calm. Holding the 7-colored divine spear, they blasted out as fast as lightning. The 7-colored spear intent spread out in all directions like ripples. I didn't think that the second clan leader would bring out the 7 extreme spears. Is this kid really so difficult to deal with? Under the support of his subordinates, Wei looked at the 2 clan leaders who were holding the rainbow divine spear and resisting the 6 types of calamities. 7. The extreme spear was the strongest attack of the 2 venerables. They would only use it when they encountered a truly dangerous opponent. Now moreover, to deal with a mere Zhuowen, he actually used the 7 extreme spear. At this moment, Chen Wei suddenly realized that he might have provoked someone he shouldn't have. It couldn't be. With the 2 clan masters attacking, how could he possibly survive? He definitely won't be a match for the 2nd clan leader. Chen Wei thought to himself as he stared at the battle in the distance. Boom! Dang, the 2nd clan leader wielded the 7 extreme spear. After destroying the final calamity of the endless divine mountain, his face became slightly pale. The 7 extreme spear was extremely powerful, but it also consumed a lot of energy. Just now, he had used his full strength, and it had consumed more than half of his energy. Whoosh! The terrifying sound of something breaking through the air could be heard as the scarlet-eyed Zhuoan rushed over at an unimaginable speed. His right hand tightly gripped the Taiyu sacred sword, which was surging with demonic energy. As he approached the 2nd clan leader, he unleashed a spell. Heaven, a line of earth. The sword slashed out, and the pitch-black sword energy pierced through heaven and earth, dyeing the day into darkness and the earth into black soil. This sword energy was terrifyingly dark, and its demonic nature was frightening. The clan leader's face completely changed. He gritted his teeth, raised the 7 extreme spear, and stabbed out. The 7-colored spear tip suddenly spun out and stabbed fiercely at the pitch-black sword energy. Whoosh! A terrifying sound shook the heavens and the earth. The 2nd clan leader's eyes narrowed into needles. With a muffled groan, he couldn't help but take a few steps back, his face even paler. However, the 2 clan leaders were indeed at the pinnacle of the Dharma plane of the universe. Although they had just stepped into this realm and hadn't completely stabilized, their strength was not to be underestimated. Shua! Wen's spell, with the support of demonic dye, was comparable to the attack of an ordinary pinnacle of the Dharma plane of the universe. Sword shakes the 9 heavens. Zhuoan sneered. His hands didn't stop moving, and he used another attack spell. Endless black sword energy swept out, and it split into 3 black sword energy storms that reached the heavens and the earth. The 2nd clan leader roared. The huge Dharma plane waved the 7 extreme spear, and the spear light blocked the black sword energy storms. But, unfortunately, the 2nd clan leader was only able to defeat 2 of the sword energy storms. He was hit by the 3rd one, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Life in the morning, death in the evening. Wen raised the Taiyu sacred sword in his hand again and used the 3rd spell. A dazzling and demonic sword light flashed out, traversing through the void. At this moment, Sharan's divine city was affected by the gloominess of this sword light and the sadness of life in the morning and death in the evening. Everyone fell into a state of grief. Under the influence of this sword light, the surrounding time and space stopped. Everyone's eyes were only left with this stunning and demonic sword light. Their emotions were completely affected by the sadness. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sound of cloth tearing resounded in everyone's ears. Then, everyone awoke from their sorrowful state. Bang! Ran! After that, everyone in the divine city was shocked to find that the huge Dharma idol formed by the divine spears was kneeling on the ground. The huge Dharma idol's body gradually dimmed and finally collapsed. Sharan in the Ran clan, the strongest person who was second only to the clan leader, fell to the ground in a sorry state. His body was covered in blood, and he couldn't get up with difficulty. Defeated. The 2nd clan leader was defeated. Chen Wei looked at the miserable old man covered in blood. He almost fell to the ground, and his body trembled with fear. The huge Sharan divine city fell into an unprecedented silence. The Sharan clan had sent out a total of 5 Dharma plane of the universe and the 2nd clan leader, who was at the pinnacle of the Dharma plane of the universe, to besiege this young demonic cultivator. The crushing that everyone expected did not happen. Instead, the 5 Dharma plane of the universe were killed, and the honorable 2nd clan leader was defeated and was on the verge of death. In the Ran clan, other than the clan leader, all the high-level experts were either killed or defeated by Zhuoan. Is there anyone else who wants to convict me and take me down? Zhuoan looked around and his cold gaze landed on Chen Wei, who was trembling in the distance, as he enunciated each word clearly. The Ran clan cultivator army did not dare to look directly at Zhuoan. They put down the weapons in their hands and knelt on the ground, trembling. A bunch of motley crew. Zhuowen shook his head. The Shuran clan was really hopeless. If the upper beam was not straight, the lower beam would be crooked. They were rotten inside and out. The clansmen did not have the concept of clansmen at all. In the face of a strong enemy, they did not have the thought of sacrificing themselves for their clansmen. This kind of clan's decline was only a matter of time. Plop. Chen Wei was so scared that he knelt on the ground and then quickly crawled to Zhuowen on his knees. In the process of crawling, he kept kowtowing and apologizing. "Sir, I have eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai. I have wronged you. Please spare my life. It's all my fault. I am the one who destroyed the Great Temple and the ancient transmission array. I am also the one who slandered you and accused you without permission. Sir, you can punish me however you want, but please spare my life." The two clan leaders widened their eyes and looked at Chen Wei in disbelief. It turned out that all of this was caused by this bastard Chen Wei. They had really wronged this young demonic cultivator. Chapter 43-33. Chen Wei, you bastard who deceived your master and destroyed your ancestors, so it was all your doing. Not only did you deceive this lord, but you also hid so many facts from your clan. You really deserve to die. The second clan master clutched his violently heaving chest and shouted at Chen Wei, who was kneeling in front of Zhuowen. At this moment, the second clan master really wanted to kill Chen Wei. It was fine that Chen Wei provoked other nameless pawns, but with the power of the Shuran clan, they could naturally deal with it without anyone knowing. But Chen Wei should not have provoked such a terrifying fiend like Zhuowen, which brought a huge disaster to the Shuran clan. Chen Wei raised his head, and when he was about to speak again, his face suddenly changed, and his eyes became unfocused. Puff! Bang! Chen Wei fell headfirst to the ground. There was a ghastly bloody hole at the back of his head. Blood gushed out from the bloody hole, and Chen Wei twitched for a while before he completely lost his breath. Zhuowen's eyes were cold, and he looked indifferently at the second clan master who slowly lowered his right hand. Fang just now, it was the second clan master who made a move, piercing Chen Wei's forehead and annihilating the latter's divine soul. Too naturally, the clan master felt Zhuowen's cold gaze, and his body trembled. He put on a fawning smile and said, "Lord, it's all Chen Wei's fault. He misled us. All of this is actually a misunderstanding. How about this? On behalf of the Shuran clan, I apologize to you. Also, don't you want to use the ancient transmission array? We will hurry up and repair it. When the time comes, you can use our ancient transmission array for free." After the clan master finished speaking, he saw Zhuowen just staring at him without saying anything. He felt a chill in his heart and hurriedly added, "Of course, we started this, and the Shuran clan will compensate you for your loss." Zhuowen sneered. With just a few words, the second clan master pushed all the blame to Chen Wei. He had already said from the beginning that he was wronged, but the second clan master saw that his cultivation was low, so he did not take it seriously and wanted to kill him indiscriminately. Now moreover, just by saying that it was all Chen Wei's fault, he wanted to clear his name. Wasn't he being too self-righteous? Chen Wei is your subordinate, and you are the temporary supreme leader of the Shuran clan. Since Chen Wei is at fault, aren't you at fault as well? Zhuowen asked. The clan master's expression changed greatly. He knew that Zhuowen wanted to get to the bottom of this matter. "I am indeed in the wrong, but I was blinded by Chen Wei. I think my lord is also a person who can distinguish between right and wrong." The second clan lord still wanted to argue, but he was stopped by Zhuowen with a wave of his hand. "If you commit suicide now, I can forgive the mistakes of the other members of your Shuran clan. Otherwise, your Shuran clan can disappear." Zhuowen waved his hand and said indifferently, "What?" The second clan leader's eyes were filled with terror, but he couldn't utter a single word. How could he possibly commit suicide in front of everyone? Second clan leader, this is the only way to protect our Shuran clan. Kill yourself. That's right. For the sake of our clansmen, quickly do as this lord says. Zheng, while the second clan leader was hesitating, the surrounding members of the Shoran clan began to denounce the second clan leader. After personally witnessing Zhuoan casually killing 5 strong cosmic Dharma adepts and defeating the second clan leader, the members of the Shoran clan had already lost their will to fight. Right now, they only wanted to compromise and do everything they could to please Zhuo when in order to protect themselves. I am your second clan leader. You want me to commit suicide? The second clan leader was so angry that his entire body trembled. He never thought that his clansmen would ask him to commit suicide to atone for his sins. For the continuation of our clansmen, the second clan leader can only sacrifice you. In the Divine City, a group of clansmen floated in mid-air and completely surrounded the second clan leader. Their killing intent was boiling. Zhuo Wen looked at this scene in surprise. He never thought that the members of the Shoran clan would not only stop dealing with him, an outsider, but also attack their second clan leader. Shoran clan is truly a clan that is rotten to the point of being incurable, Zhuo said. Wen looked at the group of clansmen surrounding the second clan leader with some pity. Then, Zhuoan saw with his own eyes that the clansmen of the Shoran clan launched a joint attack and completely landed on the second clan leader. As the second clan leader's injuries were too serious, he could only passively defend. After a while, he was exhausted and completely died in the hands of his clansmen. We have personally executed the second clan leader, the sinner who offended you. Please forgive the rest of the people of the Shoran clan. They were all following orders and had no choice. After executing the second clan leader, the clansmen of the Shoran clan knelt on the ground and sincerely and respectfully begged for mercy. Zhuo Wen waved his hand, somewhat dispirited. The behavior of the Shoran clan's clansmen made him very disgusted, but he did not want to dirty his hands by killing these pathetic people. Take out the array diagram of your Shoran Divine City's ancient transmission array and give it to me. Repair the ancient transmission array as soon as possible. I'm still in a hurry, Zhuoan said lightly. When the clansmen of the Shoran clan saw that Zhuoan did not pursue the matter further, they all heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly invited Zhuoan into the inner city of the Shoran Divine City. The inner city was the most core place of the Shoran Divine City and also the residence of the upper echelons of the Shoran clan. The ancient transmission array was extremely complicated. Depending on the location and direction of the transmission, the arrangement of the array patterns was also completely different. Although with Zhuoan's array Dao level, even without relying on the array diagram, he was confident that he could figure out the pattern of the ancient transmission array of the Shoran Divine City and repair it completely. But this would take a lot of time. Zhuoan would not be foolish enough to figure out how to repair the ancient transmission array by himself. While with the array diagram and knowing the principle of the ancient transmission array of the Shoran Divine City, it was naturally much easier to repair it. It only took him 3 days to completely repair the ancient transmission array of the Shoran Divine City. Of course, Zhuoan also did some tricks in this ancient transmission array. He was very clear that after Shisheng returned to the Shoran Divine City, he would definitely not let the matter rest. Therefore, he had to be on guard. During this period of time, the clansmen of the Shoran clan could be said to be obedient to Zhuoan and were in awe of him. Therefore, Zhuoan could enter many forbidden areas in the inner city, including the core of the city protecting Great Array. And Zhuoan was very considerate and strengthened the city protecting Great Array of the Shoran Divine City, and also very considerately added many functions. After all this, Zhuoan used the ancient transmission array to head to Zixuan Sacred City. About half a day after Zhuoan left, the ancient transmission array of the Shoran Divine City suddenly lit up with a blazing white light, and a figure was faintly discernible from the white light. Shisheng returned to the Shoran Divine City with a smile on his face. This time, he had some gains in the Zixuan Sacred City. As he had assisted the third saintess in confirming the identity of the person who had stolen the sacred fire seed, he was rewarded with a considerable amount of resources by the third saintess Zilong. Yes, with these resources, Shisheng was even more confident in stepping into the defying ancient starlight realm. Chapter 43-34. Not long after Shisheng walked out of the ancient teleportation array, he immediately felt something strange. He couldn't help but look around the ancient teleportation array. He saw that the great temple around the ancient teleportation array was gone, and the surroundings were full of potholes. There was no sign of the solemn appearance of the divine city. It had completely turned into ruins. What in the world happened? Where are the two patriarchs? Shisheng was stunned at first, then furious. He hurriedly used the communication jade token to contact the two patriarchs, but found that there was no response at all. Great Patriarch, you're back? The two guards guarding the ancient teleportation array were stunned at first, then hurriedly came to Shisheng's side, kneeling on one knee on the ground and bowing respectfully. What happened to Sharan Divine City? Why is it surrounded by ruins, and where are the two patriarchs? Shisheng lifted the collar of a guard and asked coldly. Great Patriarch, the second patriarch has fallen. The guard hurriedly said. What? The second patriarch is dead? How is that possible? Shisheng roared in disbelief. It's true, not only the second patriarch, but even the 5 core elders have fallen, and Commander Chen Wei is no longer here. The guard hurriedly restrained his mind and replied. Speak, who killed them? Shisheng was almost out of anger, but his heart was full of doubts. Who was it? Who killed the second patriarch and the others during his absence? Could it be the cultivator army of another powerful higher realm? It was that young demonic cultivator. He thought that he had been treated unfairly, so he took advantage of the time when you left Sharan Divine City and began to wantonly destroy our Sharan Divine City. So, the second patriarch brought a group of experts to stop this person, but he didn't expect that this person hid his cultivation and killed 5 core elders in an instant. The second patriarch fought with him, but unfortunately, he was deceived by his despicable means and finally fell in his hands. Great Patriarch, you must uphold justice for us. You can't let that demonic cultivator go, he's too presumptuous. The guard hurriedly replied. Shisheng calmed down, his eyes full of surprise. He didn't expect that the disaster that caused their Sharan Divine City was actually the young demonic cultivator that he disdained at that time. Wasn't that demonic cultivator only at the Great Tribulation realm? Could it be that he was really a great devil who hid his cultivation? Damn it! I was careless. Do you know where that devil cultivator went? Shisheng asked again. That devil cultivator is very cautious. When he used the ancient transmission array, he sent all of us away, so we don't know where he was teleported to. The guard laughed bitterly. They also had a belly full of anger towards Zhuowen, but at that time, they were intimidated by Zhuowen's tyrannical power and did not dare to resist Zhuowen. Now that the Great Lord had returned, they naturally wanted to take revenge on Zhuowen. However, they didn't know where Zhuowen had gone. Humph. Trash. The clan master's face was very cold. Just as he was about to reprimand him, his face suddenly changed. Shisheng suddenly raised his head and looked towards the eastern horizon of the divine city. Above the clouds, a black dot was rapidly flying towards them. This dot's speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it arrived above Sharan Divine City. Only then did Sheng realize that the black dot was actually a black divine ship that was extremely ferocious and aggressive. It's him. The moment he saw the black divine ship, he immediately knew who this person was. Clang. Previously, he and the third holy maiden, Zilong, were chasing the thief who stole the divine fire seed. They relied on this black divine ship to escape their pursuit. And the owner of this black divine ship was none other than Fei Pengze, whose identity had been confirmed. Here at this moment, Fei Pengze, with his hands behind his back, looked down at the people below Sharan Divine City, and his gaze fell on Shisheng. The great lord of the Sharan clan, Shisheng? Fei Pengze grinned, but his smile was full of coldness. Shisheng narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, Fei Pengze, you are already wanted by the Zixuan clan. How dare you appear in front of me? With your status, I'll capture you and hand you over to the Zixuan clan. I'm afraid that I'll be rewarded handsomely. Fei Pengze's eyes narrowed and said in a low voice, sure enough, you already know my identity. It seems that it was my mistake not to kill everyone on the divine ship. Fei Pengze said. Fei Pengze immediately thought of Zhuowen's divine ship that he encountered by chance some time ago. He originally wanted to destroy the divine ship and frame the owner of the divine ship. However, the owner of the divine ship was not ordinary. He could not completely eliminate him in a short time and had to give up. He was not stupid and knew that his identity had been exposed. It was most likely that the owner of the divine ship had told the third Saintess Long about his appearance. That was why his identity had been exposed. How dare you come to the Shuran divine city, Fei Pengze? I admire your courage. Surrender now, Shusha said. His bad mood eased a lot because of Fei Pengze's arrival. He shouted and summoned a huge cosmic avatar and rushed towards Fei Pengze. At the same time, he transmitted a message to the Formation Dao Masters in charge of the Great City Defensive Array in the inner city and asked them to activate the Great City Defensive Array. Whoosh! Fei Pengze waved his right hand lightly and the black divine ship flashed past like a black lightning, dodging Shisheng's powerful attack. Shisheng, I came here for two purposes. First, to confirm whether my identity was exposed. Second, to borrow the ancient transmission array of your divine city. I have already confirmed the first point. As long as you meet my second condition, I will not attack you and the Shuran divine city. Fei Pengze said lightly. Just you? Ridiculous, Shusha said. Shusha sneered and continued to attack Fei Pengze with his huge cosmic avatar. Fei Pengze's aura was not strong. He was probably at the late cosmic avatar stage. This kind of cultivation was not much of a threat to Shusha. Shusha was thinking too highly of himself if he still wanted to negotiate with him. Fei Pengze dodged Shisheng's attack again and his face sank. If you were an expert of the inverse ancient starlight realm, I might be afraid of you. However, you are only half a step into the inverse ancient starlight realm. Do you think I am afraid of you? Today, I will let you have a taste of the power of the divine fire seed, Fei Pengze said. After Fei Pengze finished speaking, he raised his right hand and formed a complicated and strange seal. Only the black god ship beneath his feet suddenly emitted a strange clanging sound, as if some bones were dislocated. Then, almost 100 huge cannons appeared on the surface of the black god. There were many more cannons than the ones Zhuoan saw on the black god. Bang! 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 In front of Shisheng's shocked eyes, almost 100 cannons suddenly erupted with terrifying purple light. Beams of light that looked like death shot out directly, piercing through everything. Shusha was still in shock. When he came back to his senses, almost 100 purple light beams had pierced through the body of his cosmic avatar. Bang! In an instant, his huge and dignified cosmic avatar was smashed into pieces and turned dark. Chapter 43-35. The Whole Book Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Thump. 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 Shisheng's expression changed drastically as he urged his huge Dharma power to retreat. He looked at the black divine ship suspended in the air in horror. He did not expect the power of the black divine ship's cannons to be so terrifying that he was caught off guard. Fei Pengze looked at Shisheng's pale face as he slowly reformed his Dharma power. He smiled excitedly. Yesterday, he had just integrated the divine fire seed into the black divine ship. He knew that the power of the black divine ship would definitely evolve. However, he had not tested its power yet. Now, he was very satisfied with the power displayed by the black divine ship. Boom! 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 Shisheng's face was slightly pale after he reformed his Dharma power. He did not dare to be careless this time. He knew that Fei Pengze's cultivation was average, but the black divine ship under his feet was extraordinary. Bang! Shisheng rushed out again. His speed had almost doubled, and he appeared behind the black divine ship in an instant. He clenched his fists and punched the black divine ship in front of him like an iron hammer. However, Shisheng found it unbelievable that he only hit the black divine ship's afterimage. Whoosh! The terrifying sound of something breaking through the air appeared behind him. Shisheng turned around abruptly, and his pupils shrank to the size of needles. Fei Pengze appeared behind Yi Futian on his black ship and was closing in on him at a rapid speed. The Black Divine Ship's cannons were all suddenly retracted, and the Black Divine Ship began to transform continuously. The steel-like parts on the surface of the Black Divine Ship were intertwined and contracted, forming a huge black cannon at the bow of the Divine Ship. The black and deep cannon was dozens of feet wide, and a terrifying and shocking energy was condensed in it. The blazing energy, in a myriad of colors, quickly appeared in the cannon's muzzle and burst out. All of this happened too quickly. By the time Shesheng reacted, the huge colorful light pillar had already appeared in front of him. Boom! Boom! Shesheng only had time to activate all of his defensive means and passively resist the bombardment of this unprecedented giant cannon. The dazzling explosion was like a rapidly expanding balloon, rapidly expanding and instantly enveloping the entire Sharan Divine City and the surrounding area of nearly 100 million miles. Countless cultivators in the Sharan Divine City watched in horror as the terrifying explosion completely enveloped them. But soon, they were shocked to find that their city defense array had barely withstood the terrifying explosion, and they were lucky to survive. Fei Pengze was driving the Black Divine Ship thousands of miles in the air. He crossed his arms in front of his chest, and he stood as he watched the colorful explosion engulf Shesheng, Sharan Divine City, and the mountains, rivers, and forests for nearly 100 million miles. His eyes were. Translation was full of excitement. The Black Divine Ship's power had once again exceeded his imagination. Translation after the Black Divine Ship fire, the Black Divine fire fire, the Divine Ship fire 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 divine fire fire fire, fire 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 divine fire. The fire 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 divine fire 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 divine fire 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 once. As the explosion slowly subsided, Fei Pengze looked at Shesheng, who was crawling on the ground with wounds all over his body, and the intact Sharan Divine City. Translation: Sharan Divine City is intact. Fei Pengze noticed that something was wrong. His eyes fell on the Sharan Divine City, which had not turned into ruins as he had expected, and a trace of disbelief flashed across his eyes. The city defense array of the Sharan Divine City is not ordinary. Fei Pengze looked at the great array, which was still stubbornly flashing on the surface of the Divine City, and showed a hint of interest. Although the Sharan Divine City was some distance away from the core of the explosion, the terrifying shock wave of the explosion was not something an ordinary second sky of Eternal Realm Great Array could withstand. Unless the city defense array of the Sharan Divine City had reached the peak of the second sky of Eternal Realm, otherwise, it would be impossible to withstand such an explosion. Interesting. The Sharan Divine City, which is considered to be at the bottom of the higher realms, actually has such a powerful city defense array? It seems that Shesheng is not completely useless. The corners of Fei Pengze's mouth curved into a meaningful arc, and then he slowly landed not far from Shesheng. The back half of the Black Divine Ship broke away and turned into ferocious shackles with a metallic luster, firmly binding Shesheng. Because Shesheng was at the core of the explosion, he had suffered most of the damage. At this moment, he was completely injured and could not condense his Dharma idol again. Originally, Shesheng was in a daze from the explosion and had not fully woken up. Now, his body was suddenly shackled, and he could not move his limbs and neck at all. His blurred consciousness suddenly sobered up. He raised his head with difficulty and saw a pair of feet in front of him. He knew that the owner of this pair of feet was Fei Pengze. Master Fei, I was wrong. Please spare my life. Shesheng lowered his head and did not dare to look up at Fei Pengze. He humbly begged for mercy, but his heart was full of humiliation. After all, he was the great senior of the Sharan clan, the highest leader of the clan. Now that he was defeated and had to humbly beg for mercy, it was really too shameful. Fei Pengze lifted Shesheng and pointed at the Sharan Divine City in front of them, and said with a smile, "Shesheng, I am very curious, what is the level of the city defense array of your Sharan Divine City? It can withstand the power of my 5 divine cannon." Shesheng was completely awake. When he saw the intact Sharan Divine City following Fei Pengze's finger, he slowly opened his mouth. To be honest, he was also a little surprised. The city defense array of their Sharan Divine City was only at the early second sky of the Eternal Realm. With the terrifying power of the 5 divine cannon, Shisheng did not think that the city defense array could hold for long before it was annihilated. But now, what he saw was a fierce slap to his face. This is the city defense array of the third sky of the eternal realm. Shisheng's eyes flashed and he suddenly began to talk nonsense. He knew that Fei Pengze was interested in his city defense array. If he catered to Fei Pengze's interest, he might have a chance of survival. Therefore, he did not dare to say that he did not know. If he really said so, he would be useless and would be killed by Fei Pengze in the end. The city defense array of the third sky of the eternal realm? How can your little Sharan divine city have such a powerful city defense array? Fei Pengze's face changed slightly. After all, he was not a divine array master, so he did not see that this was only the second sky of the eternal realm. He subconsciously believed Shisheng's words. It's a long story. Although our Sharan divine region is ranked last among the higher realms, it is just a facade. We are just deliberately hiding our strength. In fact, we have the support of a real expert, and this city defense array is that expert. He arranged it for us to use in a critical moment. In order to survive, Shisheng began to talk nonsense in a serious manner. Fei Pengze listened carefully, and his eyes became more and more serious. From this city defense array, it could be seen that the expert Shisheng mentioned was absolutely not simple. Chapter 43-36. Full text Divine Soul Sovereign's latest chapter. Where's that expert? Fei Pengze asked coldly. That lord is usually elusive, so I'm not very clear about his exact whereabouts. However, he has taken great care of our Sharan clan. If he knows that the Sharan clan has been exterminated, he will definitely not let this matter rest. Shisheng said carefully. Shisheng said. He. Shisheng, put away your little tricks. Now, ask someone to open the Great City Barrier Array. I only want the array diagram of this Great City Barrier Array. As long as you give it to me, I'll consider letting you live, Fei Pengze said lightly. The array diagram of the Great City Barrier Array of the third sky of Eternal Realm was extremely precious. Fei Pengze was naturally tempted. Shisheng's heart thumped as he knew that things were not going well. He hadn't figured out why the Great City Barrier Array had suddenly become stronger. How could he know what the array diagram was? He did have the original array diagram of the Great City Barrier Array in his mansion, but it was only at the early second sky of Eternal Realm. Anyone with a discerning eye could see it. But Shisheng also knew that in order to survive, he could only go all the way. According to Fei Pengze's instructions, Shisheng began to send a message to the person in charge of Sharan Divine City, ordering them to open the Great City Barrier Array first. But soon, Shisheng received a message that left him dumbfounded. The person in charge of Sharan Divine City actually asked him to leave and not implicate the people in the city. I'm your great clan master. You don't listen to my orders. Why don't you open the Great City Barrier Array? Shisheng was flustered and exasperated. He gave up using the communication jade token and shouted at the gate of Sharan Divine City in front of him. Great clan master. You'll always be our great clan master, so you have to shoulder the task of protecting us. For our own good, you'd better die. Don't implicate our people. This is what you taught us in the past. In order to survive, we can abandon anything and feelings. Now, we are doing what you taught us before. So, please don't implicate us. Go die by yourself. In Sharan Divine City, some of the clansmen replied that they wanted Shisheng to die, but they refused to open the Grand Formation. The people in Sharan Divine City had also discovered the extraordinariness of the Grand Formation. Therefore, they would rather die than open the Grand Formation. Even if the Grand Patriarch died, it didn't matter. Shisheng was completely flabbergasted. He had never imagined that his fellow clan members would be so cold and emotionless. They would even give up on him, the great clan sovereign. Shisheng, your clan is really hopeless. You don't even care about your fellow clansmen. You're so selfish. No wonder your Sharan domain is getting worse every year. Fei Pengze laughed mockingly. Shisheng, on the other hand, did not seem to notice. He continued to shout at the God City, even playing the emotional card. Unfortunately, in the Divine City, no one replied to him. They were all extremely cold. Shisheng was in despair. He knew that he had lost his value. Fei Pengze would never let him live. Sure enough, he found Fei Pengze looking at him coldly. A trace of killing intent burst out from Fei Pengze's eyes. Shisheng, it seems that you're useless. In that case, I'll just force my way in. Since your clansmen want you to die so much, then die. Fei Pengze said slowly. Then, he pointed a sword finger at Shisheng's glabella. Shisheng struggled to escape, but unfortunately, his whole body was bound. He could only watch the sword finger fall on his glabella. He could clearly feel a destructive force sinking into the depths of his glabella. It began to erupt constantly, destroying his spirit. After Shisheng's breath was completely gone, Fei Pengze's eyes fell on Sharan Divine City again. Only then did he notice that the grand formation on the surface of Sharan Divine City was a little chaotic and dim. Just now, my 5-god cannon caused a lot of damage to the grand formation. This shouldn't be a 3rd heavenly layer eternal realm grand formation, but a peak 2nd heavenly layer eternal realm grand formation. Fei Pengze muttered to himself. He knew very well that if this was really a 3rd heavenly layer eternal realm grand formation, the 5-god cannon couldn't have caused such great damage. I was almost fooled by Shisheng. Since it's not a 3rd heavenly layer eternal realm grand formation, I can blast it to pieces with a few more shots of the 5-god cannon. Fei Pengze sneered. He took back the ferocious shackles on Shisheng's corpse and merged into the Black Divine Ship. Just as he was about to drive the Black Divine Ship into the sky and bombard Sharan Divine City, a cold voice suddenly came from the city. The Sharan clan is indeed rotten to the core. You're all just a bunch of selfish, pathetic people with no bottom line. Rather than living in this world, it's better to die now. The cold voice was loud and clear. As soon as he finished speaking, the grand formation around Sharan Divine City suddenly became chaotic. Then, the grand formation exploded with a loud bang. Self-destruct? Fei Pengze's face changed dramatically. He only had time to turn the Black Divine Ship into a sphere and wrap his whole body in it. The terrible explosion spread over. The self-destruction of a 2nd heavenly layer eternal realm grand formation was so powerful that it even exceeded the power of Fei Pengze's 5-god cannon. In an instant, the Sharan Divine City was in chaos. All the cultivators were scrambling to escape towards the Sharan Divine City. Some powerful cultivators even thought that the cultivators in front of them were too slow and directly killed the clan members in front of them, just for themselves. They only had 1 more second to run away. The ugliness among the clansmen of the Sharan clan was forced to show at this moment. However, no one could escape from the city. They were all turned into powder in the explosion. When the explosion finally subsided, the Sharan Divine City had already disappeared, leaving only a terrifying and huge abyss. Next to the abyss, a dark ball rolled slowly and landed on a rock on one side. The black ball began to unfold, and a sorry figure climbed out of it. Poochie. Fei Pengze spat out a mouthful of blood, his face as pale as paper. Who controlled the grand formation of Sharan Divine City? Fortunately, I reacted fast enough. Otherwise, I would have been killed by the explosion. Thinking of the dangerous situation just now, Fei Pengze still had lingering fear. Without the protection of the Black God, he would never have survived. It's not good to stay here for a long time. Let's get out of here first. Fei Pengze struggled to get up. The black ball turned into a Black Divine Ship and carried him away. At the same time, in a secluded alley in the distant Zishen Sacred City, a young demonic cultivator with red eyes was holding a short array flag in his right hand. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of this array flag. Finally, with a cracking sound, it turned into fine powder and scattered down from the air, falling at his feet. Chapter 43-37. Fei Pengze's Black Divine Ship is really extraordinary. It could even withstand the self-destruction of a 2nd Heaven Eternal Realm array. Zhuo Wen muttered to himself as he silently looked at the array flags that had been shattered into powder at his feet. When he left Sharan Divine City, he had also added a surveillance array to the Great City Barrier Array. Therefore, Zhuo Wen was able to see everything that happened in Sharan Divine City. Especially after watching the battle between Fei Pengze and Shi Sheng, Zhuo Wen was shocked. The power of Fei Pengze's Black God was beyond his expectations. With the Black God, he could defeat Shi Sheng, who was half a step into the inverse ancient starlight realm. Is the sacred fire seed really so magical? It can make Fei Pengze's black divine ship reach such a powerful power. Fei Pengze's words in Sharan Divine City echoed in his mind, which mentioned that his black god was able to transform because of the sacred fire seed. This made Zhuo Wen more and more curious about the so-called sacred fire seed. Since the sacred fire seed could make Fei Pengze's black divine ship undergo such a powerful transformation, could it also be beneficial to the Taiyu sacred sword? Clang. However, this thought only flashed through Zhuo Wen's mind. From the attitude of the third saintess Zilong towards the sacred fire seed, it was obvious that the sacred fire seed was extremely important to the Zixuan clan. While it was hard to say whether the Zixuan clan still had other sacred fire seeds. Zixuan Sacred City was extremely vast, more than 10 times larger than Newer City of the Newer clan. Sacred in the city, towering buildings were arranged in rows. At a glance, it was enough to dazzle the eyes. After Zhuo Wen walked out of the secluded alley, he looked at the bustling sacred city in confusion. Although he had done some homework before coming to Zixuan Sacred City, he only knew the methods and ways to enter Zixuan Sacred City. However, Zhuo Wen was completely clueless about the geographical map of Zixuan Sacred City and the location of the divine ship that could travel to the supreme domain. Standing on the edge of the street, Zhuo Wen, with a confused look in his eyes, was in sharp contrast to the crowd around him. Zhuo Wen wanted to ask a passerby, but suddenly a timid woman's voice came from behind. "Sir, are you not familiar with Zixuan Sacred City?" Zhuo Wen, when heard this, he turned around and saw a pure woman with big eyes standing behind him. She had a shy look on her face. Female, her cultivation was not high, about the early stage of the universe tribulation. She, noticing that Zhuo Wen was sizing her up, she blushed and quickly lowered her head. Clasping her hands together, she timidly said, "Sir, if you don't mind, you can hire me to be your guide. I've already stayed in Zixuan Sacred City for several hundred years and know every place in Zixuan Sacred City like the back of my hand." When she spoke up to hear, the woman was afraid that Zhuo Wen wouldn't want her, and she said with tears in her eyes, "My lord, please hire me. My younger brother has yet to recover from his injuries, and he really needs money for treatment. As long as you hire me, I'll definitely do my best to work for you." Wen looked at the pure woman in front of him silently, his expression calm as water, and said coolly, "Before hiring you, I want to ask you first. Do you know where the divine ship of Zixuan Sacred City is?" Wen indeed knew nothing about the divine ship of Zixuan Sacred City. Hiring this woman as a guide was fine. But intuitively, he felt that there was something wrong with this woman. As for what the problem was, he could not tell. Divine ship. You want to go to the supreme realm? The pure woman's expression changed slightly. Yes, my purpose of coming to Zixuan Sacred City is for the divine ship. Why? Is there a problem? Zhuo Wen said coolly. The pure woman hurriedly waved her hand and said with a smile, "No, of course there's no problem. It's just that not everyone can sit on the divine ship in Zixuan Sacred City. The divine ship's ticket can't be bought with money. The divine ship's ticket is basically in the hands of the Zixuan clan. Only important figures who have a relationship with the Zixuan clan's upper echelons can get a ticket. Without this layer of relationship, I'm afraid that it will be a little difficult to get a ticket." Wen frowned slightly. He did not expect that this divine ship's ticket could not be bought with money. One had to know that Zhuo Wen's current wealth was extremely rich. No matter how expensive that ship ticket was, he could basically afford it. But the problem now was that this ship ticket could not be bought with money. This made Zhuo Wen somewhat helpless. As for having a relationship with the Zixuan clan's upper echelons, he really had a relationship with the third holy daughter, Zilong. But it was not a good relationship, but a bad relationship. "My lord, I know a secret black market. There will occasionally be divine ship tickets circulating there. My lord, you can go there and try your luck." the pure woman suddenly suggested to Zhuowen. Wen took a deep look at the pure woman, nodded, and said indifferently, "Then take me there. If you can really find a ticket for the divine worship in the black market, I will give you an extra handsome reward." Qing Yi said. The pure woman revealed a look of surprise and quickly nodded, "Thank you, my lord. My name is Yang Meng. I'll take you to the black market now." Zhuowen did not say anything. He just nodded and silently followed behind the pure woman. After the pure woman took Zhuowen through 7 or 8 blocks, Zhuowen found that the surroundings suddenly became much quieter and more deserted. Zhuowen looked around and found that this was a dilapidated block. It was completely different from the blocks they had walked through before. Compared to the other blocks, this block was more like a slum. The surrounding cultivators were scattered, and their auras were obscure and weak. Their cultivations were all below the great tribulation of heaven and earth. Zhuowen looked around, but his brows furrowed slightly. His divine sense was far sharper than the cultivators of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. Even many universe Dharma powerhouses might not be able to compare. He had felt that something was wrong the moment he entered this dilapidated block. In the shadows of this dilapidated block, he vaguely felt a powerful aura. Only these auras were hidden. If not for Zhuowen's divine sense being different from ordinary people, he might not have been able to detect these hidden auras. "My lord, the entrance to the black market is in the hall in front of us." The pure woman saw Zhuowen suddenly slow down and turned to look at Zhuowen in confusion. She pointed at an ancient and dilapidated stone hall at the end of the block. The surface of this stone hall was mottled with the traces of time. It should have been pure white marble, but because of time or other factors, it was covered with dense black spots, like the spots on a dead person's face. Zhuowen looked deeply at Yang Meng and said expressionlessly, "Continue leading the way." Yang Meng's expression was normal as she continued to lead the way. Very soon, the two of them arrived at the entrance of the ancient hall at the end of the block. The moment he stepped into the ancient hall, Zhuowen's eyes flashed with an intense cold light. In that instant, he could clearly feel that there were several powerful auras filled with malice in the depths of the hall. Around the hall, there were destructive fluctuations from the attack array. It was obvious that someone had deliberately set up a powerful attack array in the hall. Chapter 43-38. Have we reached the entrance to the black market? After walking for another quarter of an hour in the pitch-black hall, Yang Meng stopped. Her shoulders suddenly trembled as she laughed out loud. Yang Meng slowly turned around. The pitiful and pure look in her big eyes had long since disappeared. Instead, they were replaced by ridicule, contempt, and complacency. "My lord, you are really innocent. You are actually so easy to fool. It can be said that you are the stupidest idiot I have ever met." Yang Meng laughed. Yang Meng laughed without a care for her image as she continued to ridicule and belittle Zhuowen. Zhuowen frowned and pretended to be puzzled as he asked, "What do you mean?" Yang Meng sneered and didn't answer Zhuowen's question. Instead, she stretched out her slender hands and gently clapped. The crisp and melodious sound of a slap resounded leisurely in the pitch-black hall. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 sounds of wind breaking could be heard from the depths of the hall. Behind Yang Meng, 3 men had appeared at some point. Their auras were stronger than Yang Meng's and had reached the late stage of the universe tribulation. "Hand over all your belongings. I can consider sparing your life and only crippling your cultivation." Yang Meng covered her mouth and laughed mockingly. Under Yang Meng's signal, the 3 men surrounded Zhuowen in a triangular formation. Robbery?" Zhuowen asked with a frown. "Did you only realize now?" Yang Meng continued to mock and ridicule him. Zhuowen's expression was calm as he said indifferently, "In other words, the black market and the divine worship tickets you told me about were fake. Was it to deceive me?" Yang Meng was startled. She didn't expect that this young devil cultivator would actually care about the black market and the divine worship tickets. Was this guy not afraid of death? That wasn't the case. Within Purple Jade Holy City, there was indeed a mysterious black market, and the divine worship tickets occasionally circulate in the black market. I have only entered the black market once. If I wasn't smart enough, I might have died there. A place like the black market is not a place that a low-level universe tribulation cultivator like me can casually enter. Even cosmic Dharma adepts may not be completely safe in such a place. When they arrived at the black market, Yang Meng felt as if she was in a nightmare. Her beautiful eyes flickered with fear. So you've been to the black market? Very good, then I can consider sparing your life first. Zhuowen said indifferently. What a joke. Are you courting death? Merely a middle-stage universe Great Tribulation fellow also dares to be so arrogant. Yang Meng laughed. Zhuowen's words just now sounded like a joke to her. Hee hee. Brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, you'd better die. Of the three people surrounding Zhuowen, the slightly plump man in front of Zhuowen smiled sinisterly and immediately brought out his own universe world. While the other two didn't dare to be careless either. They both took out their own universal worlds. The terrifying aura of the great universal calamity surged out like furious thunder. It was terrifying and shocking. Zhuo, the corner of his mouth revealed an evil smile. A demonic red light flickered in the depths of his eyes. An ink-like devil chi surged out from his body and instantly enveloped the three people around him. What is this? My power. My power is being weakened, my soul. Within the rolling devil fog, the voices of the three people became panicked, and then they let out mournful screams. Smoke, the complacent expression on Meng's face completely froze. Her pupils were tightly locked as she looked at the rolling devil fog. Those screams were like sharp needles piercing into her heart, causing her heart to sink to the bottom. Miserable, the cries quickly disappeared, and the demonic fog, which was as thick as mud, also gradually receded. Zhuowen was still standing in place, as if he hadn't moved at all. Beside him stood three figures stiffly. Smoke, when she looked over, she was shocked to discover that these three figures were her companions. Only it was these three people whose faces were wooden, and their eyes flickered with a strange red light, causing Yang Meng to feel exceptionally unfamiliar and terrified. Smoke, the dream stumbled, wanting to retreat and escape. Su su su. The three of them let out beast-like roars and suddenly rushed out, surrounding Yang Meng. I'm Yang Meng, what's wrong with you guys? Don't you even recognize me? Yang Meng fell to the ground and looked at the three pairs of red eyes with some fear. With the three companions who had always obeyed her orders looked so unfamiliar today. They are now my devil puppets. They only listened to my orders. Wen slowly walked over and coldly looked down at Yang Meng, who had fallen to the ground. Demon, the effect of the die was truly astonishing. Three cultivators in the late stage of the universe calamity had been turned into devil puppets by the die in such a short period of time. This surprised Zhuowen. Zhuowen suspected that as long as it was a cultivator below the cosmic Dharma stage, his demonic die had a very high success rate of turning the enemy into a devil puppet. Yang Meng sat on the ground. She first looked at her three companions who had already lost their minds and then looked at Zhuowen, who had a cold gaze. She knew that this time, he had mentioned the hard board. My lord, Yang Meng was possessed and actually had evil intentions towards you. Please forgive Yang Meng's mistake. Yang Meng lowered her head and begged. Cut the crap, take me to the black market. If you dare to deceive me this time, I don't mind making you never see the sun tomorrow. Zhuowen said indifferently. Yang Meng nodded and said, yes, my lord. Don't worry, Yang Meng will definitely not play any tricks this time. After seeing Zhuowen's strange methods, Yang Meng did not dare to play any tricks. This time, she was much more obedient. Just as Zhuowen had guessed, the black market was not in the old street that Yang Meng had brought him to. This street was actually one of Misty Dream's old lair. They would often bring cultivators who had just arrived in Purple Jade Holy City with ordinary strength here, and then a group of people would rob them. If necessary, they would even kill them to silence them and destroy their corpses. The black market was located in the southeast of Zixuan Holy City. There was a huge underground area there. Of course, this underground area was hidden under the residential area. The underground area was like an underground city, with rows upon rows of buildings and a lot of people. This underground city was commonly known as the Black Market. The Black Market was actually illegal in the Zhixian Holy City. However, it had never been investigated. It was said that there was a certain holy maiden behind it as a backer. Until as for which holy maiden it was unknown at the moment. The entrance to the Black Market was in an inconspicuous building. In the depths of this building, there was a small teleportation array. This teleportation array led directly to the underground Black Market. I didn't expect you to dare to come to the Black Market again. You almost died last time, didn't you learn your lesson? Let me remind you, that Lord also came to the Black Market today. You'd better pray that you're lucky and don't meet him. At the entrance of the building, a tall and thin guard took the token from Yang Meng. After confirming it, he returned it to Yang Meng and said jokingly, "You don't have to worry about this." Yang Meng's face was slightly pale. After taking the token, she led Zhuowen and the 3 devil puppets into the building. Chapter 43-39. The one-story building was shabby on the outside, but the decoration inside was enough to be described as magnificent. Inside the building, there were compartments, and in each compartment, there was a small teleportation array. As soon as Meng, Zhuowen, and the others entered the building, a beautiful maid with a professional smile immediately led the 5 of them into an empty room on the left. After paying the corresponding fee, the maid activated the small teleportation array in the room. Following with a burst of white light, Zhuowen's group of 5 disappeared from the narrow room. Is this the underground Black Market? Wen Gang opened his eyes and saw a bustling street with people coming and going. On both sides of the street, there were shops, and next to some shops, there were many stalls. First Sky of the Eternal Realm material, the skull of the 3-eyed wolf, is the main divine material for making helmets. Come and buy it, the price is fair. Our shop has a wide variety of things. Whether it's materials for making divine artifacts, divine medicines for refining divine pills, formation discs, secret medicines, and so on, we have everything you need. Come and take a look. We'll definitely have the one you want. On both sides of the street, whether it was the stalls or the shops, they were all shouting hard, trying to attract the attention and interest of the many cultivators coming and going on the street. Zhuowen was surprised that although this was the underground city, it was not as dark as he imagined. Instead, it was like the outside world, sunny and warm, like a spring breeze. He looked up and found that in the sky in the center of the underground city, there was a big fireball that was constantly releasing heat and light. The light and temperature of the underground city were supplied by this huge fireball. While Zhuowen also found that the surface of the entire underground city was surging with extremely strong fluctuations of array Dao. Bang! The large underground city was wrapped in a very powerful array restriction. Even if there was a great battle in the underground city, it would not affect the ground. Bang! However, if an expert at the level of Nigu Xingguang made a scene in the underground city, the great array around the underground city might not be able to stop him. Only yes, an expert at the level of Nigu Xingguang, with a respected status, would not come to the underground black market to buy things. It would be a disgrace to their reputation. My lord, the tickets for the divine worship are extremely rare and precious. Although they occasionally circulate in the underground black market, they are usually snatched up very quickly. Furthermore, the tickets for the divine worship are usually not circulated in the underground black market. Dream pulled Zhuowen's sleeve and said softly. Zhuowen nodded and looked at Misty Dream behind him as he asked, "Where is it?" The core of the underground black market, Black City, was also the most chaotic place in the underground black market. It's said that even Universe Dharma adepts have fallen there. When Yang Meng mentioned Hei Cheng, her beautiful eyes were filled with fear. In her eyes, the cosmic law idol was already an unreachable expert. Such a powerhouse could fall in Black City. It could be seen how chaotic Black City was. "Take me there," Zhuowen said calmly. Smoke Dream was stunned. The reason she had mentioned Black City and that her cosmic form had fallen there was to remind Zhuowen that it was dangerous there. She wanted him to back off. But the guy in front of him looked too calm, as if he didn't put the danger of Hei Cheng in his eyes. My lord. Even Universe Dharma adepts have fallen there before. It's too dangerous. And I've never been to Black City. I've only seen the outline of Black City from afar. Misty Dream wanted to continue persuading him. She had almost died outside the underground black market, not to mention the even more dangerous Black City. She entering there was absolutely no chance of survival. Lead the way. Otherwise, you'll die immediately. Zhuowen looked at Misty Dream calmly. His eyes flashed with red light and were cold and ruthless. Misty Dream trembled and didn't dare to disobey Zhuowen. She could only obediently lead Zhuowen to the core of the underground black market, Black City. Black City was located in the center of the underground black market. It was a fortress that occupied a large area. Sir, not everyone can enter Black City. There are hard and fast rules. Outside Black City, there is a test of strength. If you can't pass the test, not only can you not enter Black City, but you will also be killed on the spot. On the way to Black City, Misty Dream told Zhuowen many things about Black City. Black City was the gathering place of the strongest experts in the underground black market. It was said that the minimum cultivation requirement to enter Black City was the peak of the universe tribulation. Clang. However, although this was the minimum requirement, most cultivators at the peak of the universe tribulation would not enter Black City. Because, in Black City, cultivators at the peak of the universe tribulation were the lowest existences. They would be cannon fodder if they entered. If they were unlucky enough to be targeted by a certain expert, they would immediately be gnawed to pieces. Clang. However, it was not that there were no cultivators at the peak of the universe tribulation who entered. Those who entered either died or had special trump cards to protect themselves. While the test to enter Black City was also extremely simple, but it was very dangerous. The City would send 2 cultivators at the peak of the universe tribulation to fight with the tester. If they could defeat the 2 cultivators at the peak of the universe tribulation, they would have the qualifications to enter Black City. Only yes, this test was only for cultivators below the universe Dharma phase. If one was at the universe Dharma phase, they would not need to take the test and could directly enter Black City. Master, Black City is right in front of us. After Dream brought Zhuowen out of the bustling streets, they arrived at the edge of a cliff. Below the cliff was a huge basin. And, in the center of the basin, a huge black fortress stood, surrounded by dense green grass. Looking around, on the high ground around the basin, there were all kinds of buildings. Some of the buildings surrounded the basin in a circular pattern, with the Black City in the center of the basin as the core. Let's go. When ignored Yang Meng, who had a troubled expression, and continued to walk towards the basin. Just as they jumped down from the grass, several air-piercing sounds suddenly came from above. 3 figures swept past them in a very tyrannical manner. While the violent energy ripples lifted up the grass that filled the sky and flew over. If not for Zhuowen waving his sleeve in time to block them, they would have been in a sorry state by these flying grass. They are so rude. Yang Meng's beautiful eyes glared angrily at the 3 figures that hurriedly swept away, muttering unhappily. Originally, Yang Meng's voice was not loud, and theoretically, the 3 of them could not hear him. However, just as Yang Meng finished speaking, the 3 figures suddenly stopped and rushed back to Zhuowen's group of 5. Were you the one who said we were rude? The leader of the group was a skinny man with skin as white as a water ghost. His cold gaze swept across Zhuowen and the others, and finally landed on Yang Meng. Smoke Meng was so scared that she took a few steps back. The skinny man in the lead had an extremely powerful aura, far surpassing that of the other cultivators Yang Meng had seen before. Chapter 4340. An elite at the cosmic Dharma plane level. I'm done for. I can't believe I've provoked such an elite. Meng Xin's heart sank to the bottom. She couldn't help but look at Zhuowen beside her. Her eyes revealed a pleading look, but more than that, there was despair. Although she had seen Zhuowen's strange and unfathomable methods, after all, that was only a side trick. Moreover, Zhuowen was only at the middle stage of the universe tribulation. No matter how strong this person was, He should only be at the peak of the universe tribulation. It was definitely impossible for him to be a match for a powerhouse at the universe tribulation level. Sir, you misunderstand. I have no dissatisfaction with you. Yang Meng revealed a fawning smile and said humbly, Yang Meng, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to see you again. When Yang Meng bowed and apologized to the skinny man, a fat middle-aged man walked out from behind the tall and skinny man. His small eyes stared at Yang Meng's graceful body. Yang Meng felt that this voice was very familiar and couldn't help but raise her head. When she saw the fat middle-aged man, she was first stunned, then she couldn't help but take a few steps back in fear until she retreated to Zhuowen's side. Why are you here, Fu Chen? Yang Meng stared at the fat man in horror. Of course, I'm leading the way for these two lords. After all, such noble existences like the two of you naturally have to come to the Black City to take a look. Fu Chen sneered. Is this your old friend, Fu Chen? The skinny man with a pale face frowned and asked. Originally Fu Chen, who was originally complacent, immediately recovered his humble attitude. He hurriedly bowed and said, This woman was once my exclusive property, but she escaped when I wasn't paying attention. I thought she would never come to the underground black market again. I didn't expect that I would be so fated to meet her again. In that case, I'll leave this woman to you. We'll go to the Black City first. The skinny man nodded and rushed towards the Black City with another person. They completely ignored Zhuowen and the others because whether it was Zhuowen or the three devil puppets beside him, the highest cultivation was only at the late stage of the universe tribulation. They didn't put such trash in their eyes at all. Yang Meng, I remember that when you escaped, you said that when you came back, it would be the day of revenge. I've seen you again, but your cultivation hasn't improved much. As for your companions, Fu Chen glanced at Zhuowen and the three demonic puppets standing beside Zhuowen. His eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. If you come back and obediently become my slave, I will consider not killing you. Fu Chen said calmly. Yang Meng said angrily, Fu Chen, in Zhixian Holy City, women's rights are supreme. Using women as slaves is a serious violation of Zhixian Holy City's rules. Aren't you afraid of Zhixian Holy City's law enforcement team? Fu Chen sneered and said, Yang Meng, this is the underground black market. The law enforcement team above ground has no jurisdiction over this place. Here, there is no difference between male and female rights. As long as you have the bigger fist and more money, you are the master of power. Now, you are talking to me about Zhixian Holy City's rules. Are you telling me a joke? Speaking up to here, Fu Chen's face turned cold and said, Now, kneel down, crawl over, kneel down and lick my toes. Moreover, take the initiative to become my slave. I can forgive all your past mistakes and let you live. Yang Meng clenched her fists tightly. She recalled the days when she was abused by Fu Chen and her heart sank. Don't think of making me submit. Even if I die, I will never become your slave again. Also, I have a new master now, and this lord is my new master, Smoke said. As Yang Meng spoke, she silently hid behind Zhuowen. Fu Chen frowned slightly and looked coldly at Zhuowen. He said, Yang Meng's new master? You are courting death. You even dare to snatch my slave. Don't you know your own weight? After discovering that Zhuowen was only at the middle stage of universe tribulation, Fu Chen's killing intent boiled. This kind of trash dared to snatch his woman. Zhuowen glanced sideways at Yang Meng who was hiding beside him. He swung his right hand and threw the latter to the side. Then, he looked straight at Fu Chen and said, Who do you think you are? So what if I snatched your slave? Do I need to apply for it from you? Fu Chen was stunned. He didn't expect that a mere middle-stage universe tribulation trash would actually point at him and scold him. This was simply courting death. You are courting death. Fu Chen was so angry that he laughed. He took a step forward and rushed towards Zhuowen at an extremely fast speed. When he arrived above Zhuowen, he took out his universe world. The terrifying and shocking aura of the peak of universe tribulation unrestrainedly crushed down. Zhuowen stood on the spot without moving. A strange and deep red light flickered in the depths of his eyes. At the instant this red light flashed, the 3 devil puppets beside him suddenly went crazy and let out beast-like roars of pain. This devil puppet's eyes were filled with a terrifying red light. Its 4 limbs were on the ground, and its hind legs suddenly stomped on the ground. It leaped into the air and grabbed towards Fu Chen. This devil puppet's 4 limbs were like hooks as it fiercely grabbed onto Fu Chen's plump body. No matter how Fu Chen attacked, it wouldn't let go. At the same time, the 3 devil puppets took out their blood-red universe world. The moment they took out their universe world, the huge blood-red world began to rapidly expand. A terrifying and destructive aura was constantly spreading. What? They're preparing to self-destruct? The moment Fu Chen was caught by the 3 devil puppets, he immediately sensed what the devil puppets were about to do. With a furious roar, he waved his arms and smashed the devil puppets on his body. However, his fist was like a clay ox entering the sea. Although the devil puppets were severely injured by him, they still refused to let go of Fu Chen even in death. At the same time, a strange demonic mist surged around Zhuowen's body. It suddenly spread out and enveloped Fu Chen's entire body. The moment he came into contact with the demonic mist, Fu Chen immediately discovered that his strength, body, and soul were being contaminated by some kind of demonic aura and were rapidly weakening. Fu Chen began to flee like a madman. He wanted to escape from this strange demonic mist first and then get rid of the 3 devil puppets on his body. However, the more he fled, the more he discovered that the demonic mist was endless. He didn't escape from the demonic mist at all. Instead, the surrounding demonic mist became thicker and thicker, as if it was dyed black blood staining his body. Sensing that the aura of the 3 devil puppets' self-destruction was getting stronger and stronger, Fu Chen was completely flustered. He let out a panicked cry and became even more flustered as he searched for a way out of the demonic mist. However, what he didn't expect was that in reality, he had been walking on the spot in the demonic mist. While Zhuowen stood not far away from the demonic mist. His scarlet eyes looked mockingly at Fu Chen, who was running for his life like a headless fly. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, 3 terrifying explosions rang out from within the demonic mist. Under Zhuowen's control, the 3 devil puppets chose to self-destruct. The collapse of the 3 universe worlds produced an extremely huge amount of energy. Fu Chen let out an unwilling cry and was completely drowned by the energy produced by the self-destruction of the 3 universe worlds. The terrifying shockwave quickly spread in all directions in a circular manner. Zhuowen was still standing in the same spot. The strange demonic mist turned into a round egg and enveloped him, completely blocking the aftershock of the explosion. While Yang Meng wasn't so lucky. She was directly sent flying by the aftershock of the explosion and crashed heavily into the cliff at the edge of the basin in the distance. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her face was pale. Chapter 43-41. My lord. Meng Meng ignored her internal injuries and the thick blood on the corner of her mouth. She crawled on all fours and crawled in front of Zhuowen, kowtowing repeatedly. At this moment, Yang Meng's heart was filled with fear and trepidation. She was afraid that her actions just now would anger Zhuowen and cause the latter to kill her in a fit of anger. After personally witnessing Zhuowen's expressionless face as he ordered the 3 devil puppets, who were her companions, to self-destruct and kill Fu Chen, she understood that the young man in front of her was definitely a ruthless character. Zhuowen coldly glanced at Yang Meng, who was still kowtowing, and said indifferently, "Continue to lead the way. Also, don't play any tricks in front of me in the future. You have to know that my patience is not limitless." Hearing this, Yang Meng trembled and kowtowed a few more times, indicating that she would not dare to do it again. Not long after Yang Meng and Zhuowen quietly left this place, Black City and the surrounding black market areas began to rush over one after another. The explosion of the 3 devil puppets was quite loud, and the entire underground black market was alarmed. However, after these cultivators heard the news and rushed over, they could only see the many potholes left behind by the battle. They did not see any other cultivators here. After wandering around for a while, some cultivators left one after another, no longer lingering here. The underground black market was a place without rules and laws. It was a place where the strong preyed on the weak. Fights and deaths were inevitable. These cultivators who lived in the underground black market had long since become accustomed to it. They only regretted that they did not get any benefits from this battle and secretly hated themselves for coming too late. Dang Yang Meng and Zhuoan left the battlefield early and circled around to the entrance of Black City, but they were stopped. Black City was completely forged from sparkling and translucent black crystal stones. The entire surface of the battlements was suffused with a faint black halo. The gate of Black City was 300 feet tall. The surface of the gate was suffused with a faint black halo. In the halo, one could clearly see all kinds of patterns on the surface of the gate. Some of the patterns were of different shapes. There were strange beasts of strange shapes, buildings of different styles, and complex runes. Many patterns combined together to form a mysterious and bizarre scene. At this moment, the city gates were tightly shut, keeping Zhuoan and Yang Meng outside. On the city wall above the city gate, 2 black-armored cultivators with black divine blades on their backs stared coldly at Zhuoan and Misty Dream. 2 lords, my master and I plan to enter the Black City to trade. I hope that the 2 lords can make it convenient for us and open the city gates. Misty Dream's posture was very low as she begged the 2 black-armored cultivators on the city walls. Standing on the right side of the wall was a black-armored cultivator with a long face. He glanced at Yang Meng and Zhuoan and said expressionlessly, "Scram, why don't you take a look at your cultivation? You dare to come to Black City?" Meng's pretty face turned pale. She hesitated for a moment and looked at Zhuoan, who still didn't say anything. She knew that this was her chance to redeem herself in front of Zhuoan. If she couldn't even do this well, then she really had no value to Zhuoan. Ha! The scene of the 3 demonic puppets exploding involuntarily appeared in her mind. Her delicate body trembled. She once again gathered her courage and said to the black-armored cultivators on the city wall, "2 lords, isn't there a rule in Black City? Can cultivators below the cosmic Dharma form enter the Black City by challenging 2 cultivators at the peak of the Great Tribulation of Heaven and Earth?" The round-faced black-armored cultivator on the left side of the city wall couldn't help but mock, "There is such a rule, but why don't you take a piss and look at yourselves? An early-stage cosmic tribulation cultivator and a mid-stage cosmic tribulation cultivator dare to challenge us? Hurry up and scram. Don't waste our time," Yang Meng said. Meng's face flushed red. She felt helpless. Just as she was about to retort, a strong wind came from behind them. Original Zhuoan, who was standing silently behind Misty Dream, a cold red light flashed in the depths of his eyes. He snorted coldly, grabbed Misty Dream's right arm with one hand, and stepped into the void with his right foot, disappearing on the spot. Where the moment the 2 of them left their original spot, an extremely blazing and terrifying sword light suddenly swept over from the ground where they were originally standing. Then, the ground exploded, forming an incomparably huge gully. The radiance was intense and terrifying. After the ground was blasted apart, the endless aftershock of the sword radiance swept out in all directions, tearing the surrounding space into pieces. Clang! The sword light's aftershock spread out in an unparalleled manner. When it landed on the city gate of Black City, the patterns on the surface of the city gate constantly rippled, completely cancelling out the aftershock of the sword light, while the city gate remained intact. Zhuoan looked deeply at the city gate of Black City. It seemed that the materials used in Black City were definitely not simple, to be able to completely cancel out the powerful and terrifying sword light so completely. Whoosh! After the sword light exploded, a figure slowly arrived and landed at the city gate. This was a handsome man with snow-white skin. He was dressed in a black robe and had a long sword at his waist. After he landed at the city gate, he glanced indifferently at Zhuoan, who was carrying the pale Misty Dream and retreating 100 steps away. The corner of his mouth raised into a mocking smile as he said indifferently, "A trash in the middle stage of the universe calamity can actually dodge my casual sword strike. You are a bit interesting, but under my sword, there has never been anyone who has survived. Since you were able to dodge my sword move, it means that you are not ordinary. Then I will give you a dignified death. I will allow you to commit suicide to atone for your sins. Wen's face turned cold. Was there something wrong with this man called Jen Wook's brain? He was bragging in front of him. It was clearly his mistake, but in his mouth, it was the greatest mercy. He even wanted him to commit suicide to atone for his sins. So it's Lord Jen Wook. Quickly, please come in. On the city wall, the two black-armored cultivators, who were originally expressionless and cold, immediately burst into smiles the moment they saw Jen Wook. They were as passionate as fire as they smiled flatteringly. They hurriedly activated the mechanism of the city gate and opened the huge city gate. They were beaming with smiles as they bowed to Jen Wook. Jen Wook turned a blind eye to them. Instead, he stared indifferently at Zhuowen. The mocking smile at the corner of his mouth became even wider. Zhuo said angrily. Wen slowly put down Misty Dream and looked at Jen Wook mockingly. Are you sure there is nothing wrong with your brain? The expression of Jen Wook, who had been looking down on Zhuo Wen from a lofty position, changed the instant he heard Zhuo Wen's words. Jen Wook said with a gloomy expression. How dare you speak to Lord Jen Wook in such a manner? You are just a piece of trash in the middle stage of the universe calamity. You are courting death. On the city wall, the two black-armored cultivators immediately began to denounce Zhuowen. Their tone was unyielding and vicious. Zhuowen's gaze was calm. He looked at the two black-armored cultivators and asked, Didn't you say that I am not qualified to enter Black City? Then if I defeat this person, will it prove that I am qualified to enter Black City? Chapter 43-42. The two black-armored cultivators, who had been loudly berating Zhuo Wen, immediately shut their mouths when they heard Zhuo Wen's words, as if something was stuck in their throats. They looked at the young demonic cultivator who overestimated himself with a strange gaze. Sword Wook was an early-stage Dharma characteristic sword expert. He was quite famous in Black City. If the two black-armored cultivators could still believe it if an early-stage Dharma characteristic expert challenged Jen Wook. However, a mere mid-stage Heaven and Earth Great Tribulation trash actually dared to boast shamelessly that he could defeat Jen Wook. They simply could not believe it. Jen Wook was also stunned for a moment. Then, he laughed out loud and said, You? Who do you think you are? You don't even have the right to challenge me. How dare you say you can defeat me? What right do you have? With that trashy cultivation of yours. Wook mocked mercilessly. However, just as he finished speaking, he immediately felt a terrifying gust of wind whistling over. In the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of him. Before Jen Wook could react, a clear slapping sound rang out from his face. Then, he was sent flying by a huge force. He was sent flying backwards. Bang! Sword Wook crashed to the ground in a sorry state. He immediately jumped up and covered his red and swollen cheek with his right hand. His eyes were filled with exasperation as he stared at Zhuowen. You dare to sneak an attack on me? Jen Wook roared angrily. His originally handsome face was swollen, making him look extremely miserable. At the same time, Jen Wook became somewhat vigilant. Although Zhuowen's cultivation was not high, his methods were rather strange. He actually did not react to this person's attack just now. Zhuowen sneered. A mere early-stage Dharma characteristic expert needed him to sneak an attack on him. The red light in Zhuowen's eyes burned brighter and brighter. The billowing demonic fog was like thick blood that enveloped him. Boom! 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 Zhuowen rushed out again. Under the state of demonic corrosion, his speed was even faster than before. Almost as soon as Jen Wook finished speaking, he appeared behind Jen Wook. Zhuowen's right hand was like a hook. His 5 fingers tightly gripped Jen Wook's head, and then he ruthlessly smashed him to the ground. At this moment, Jen Wook had just placed his right hand on the hilt of the divine sword at his waist. He was a beat slower than Zhuowen. Boom! Jen Wook's entire face was smashed into the ground. His handsome face was embedded into the ground. Zhuowen's expression was normal as he grabbed the back of Jen Wook's head with his right hand. Then, he did not hold back and kept smashing Jen Wook's head. The dull crashing sound was so clear and ear-piercing at the Black City's gate. Hara, the two black-armored cultivators, who had originally wanted to watch the show, were dumbfounded. They kept rubbing their eyes, wondering if they were hallucinating. Smoke Meng's beautiful eyes flickered with shock. Although she knew that Zhuowen was very strong, he was at most a little stronger than a peak universe tribulation expert. But now, seeing how easily Zhuowen had beaten Jen Wook, who was at the early stage of the cosmic phase, into such a sorry state, she understood that she might have still underestimated Zhuowen's strength. "I want you dead," Jen Wook roared. Jen Wook roared angrily and suddenly pulled out the divine sword at his waist. 1. A majestic and vast aura burst out from his body. Then, a shocking energy seeped out of his body and turned into a huge celestial giant in the void behind him. Rolling cosmic phase fire swept over with the power to burn the sky. Zhuowen snorted coldly and released his right hand from the back of Jen Wook's head. He took the opportunity to quickly retreat. While Jen Wook, who was enveloped by the huge cosmic phase giant, supported his body with both hands and slowly climbed to his feet. His eyes had become completely crimson red. His originally handsome face had already become bruised and swollen, covered in bloodstains. Combined with the furious expression on his face, it caused him to appear exceptionally ferocious and terrifying at that moment. Sword Wu Qiu was truly infuriated. He was a cultivator who cared a lot about his appearance. From his handsome face and well-maintained skin, it could be seen that he had high requirements for his appearance. Now, moreover, Zhuowen had reduced him to such a sorry state, and had even specifically slapped his face. How could he not be furious? Lord Jen Wook is truly enraged. He has even brought out his cosmos aspect. He really wants to kill. On the city wall, the expressions of the two black-armored cultivators became especially solemn. They silently stared at the huge cosmic phase giant and stood up. Their bodies could not help but tremble slightly. Smoke Meng also revealed a worried expression. She was naturally not worried about Zhuowen's safety, but her own. Baishi was actually in cahoots with Zhuowen here. If Zhuowen was killed by Jen Wook, the latter would not let her go. Sword. Wook's cosmic phase was 800 feet tall. It was the image of a swordsman wearing a wide robe with two divine swords hanging from his waist. "You have completely angered me. I wanted to give you a dignified death, but you were too complacent. You actually dared to sneak attack me again and again. Such a shameless person should experience endless pain before he dies," Jen said. Wook's voice was hoarse. He slowly merged into the huge cosmic phase giant, and then the cosmic phase giant seemed to come alive. It took a step forward and rushed towards Zhuowen. Kung kung. The sound of two swords being unsheathed rang through the void. The cosmic phase giant pulled out the two divine swords at its waist and then stepped in front of Zhuowen. It crossed its hands and slashed out. The sword light was like lightning. The sword light soared into the sky. The two sword lights crossed each other and ruthlessly slashed towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen shook his head inwardly. Jen Wook's strength was really ordinary in his eyes. In the early stage of the cosmic phase giant, he could only be considered below average. Such a person had quite a reputation in Black City. This really made Zhuowen feel strange. Could it be that the so-called experts in Black City were not as strong as he thought? Thinking of this, Zhuowen took out the Taiyu sacred sword. He then held the sword hilt horizontally and slashed out. Heaven and earth primordial one-line sky. The fierce sword light pierced through the heavens and the earth. It was shocking. Under the cover of the demonic fog, there was a demonic red light flickering and lingering. The sword light was extremely fast and instantly arrived in front of the huge cosmic phase giant. Boom! At the same time, the demonic fog, which was as vast as the sea, instantly wrapped the huge cosmic phase giant tightly. Two lines the sword rays intertwined with each other, creating a loud noise that shook the heavens and the earth. Then, the colorful energy ripples spread out in all directions in a ring shape. It was a terrifying sight to behold. Catcher. After the loud sound, there was a clear shattering sound. Jen Wook's powerful intertwined sword light was crushed by the strange red sword light. Under the support of the demonic fog, the sword light became even more powerful and strange. In the end, it heavily entered the huge cosmic phase giant. Jianwook let out a shrill and ear-piercing roar. He watched as the cosmic phase giant on the surface was crushed by the strange sword light and crumbled inch by inch. After the huge cosmic phase giant collapsed, Jianwook violently spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell to the ground pathetically, twitching in pain. He tried to get up several times but failed. Lord Jianwook must have won. When the black-armored cultivator saw someone fall out of the demonic fog and twitch pathetically, he subconsciously thought that it was Zhuoan. However, when they finally saw the true face of the twitching figure, they were all dumbfounded. Their jaws almost dropped. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.